When Puff the Magic Dragon shows up, then I'll listen to your crappy argument.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, November 7th, 2013. Time for your Gitmo Nation Media Assassination Episode 563.
This is No Agenda.
Brushing off my Bitcoins here in the Travis Heights Hideout in FEMA Region 6. Austin Tejas in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where plain and simply I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Craig Bott and Buzzkill in the morning.
Woo! Yay. You're more than just plain and simple.
Plain and simple.
Wow, so Bitcoin over $300 now.
It's pretty wild.
It's fantastic. And it
Should have bought some of those coins when they were like $1.
Well, I still have a whole bunch, remember?
Yeah, you have 10.
Yeah, right.
You're going to need them.
I'm sorry?
You're going to need them the way the show donations are going.
I know. I'm so happy I didn't spend them all on Silk Road, which has reopened magically. You can cross that one off of the Red Book. That it's now reopened as, I guess, an official honeypot.
Yeah, well, I think it was kind of a honeypot before, but now it's official.
Well, I think the timing is not coincidental. There's something coming up on the horizon which fits in perfectly. And now, of course, I'm even getting your buddy Horowitz sending me emails about Bitcoin. Since we talked about a couple weeks ago, right? That it was now being accepted on Baidu or one of those Chinese things.
Yeah,
I don't know what you buy on Baidu. Followers. But it's news, and I think this Bitcoin thing with Silk Road, it's all kind of flowing into one. It's going all in one direction.
You know, the virtual currency appears to be getting a lift from greater expectance and some high-profile endorsements. Its new high coming a month after many were predicting Bitcoin's demise. That's when Silk Road, an online purveyor of drugs and other illegal services, was shut down by U.S. law enforcement. Since its inception, Bitcoin's been dogged by the belief that Silk Road's customers were Bitcoin's primary users, given the anonymity it provides. But far from falling out of favor, since then, it seems more people are buying Bitcoin. Convergex strategist Nick Colas pointing to China as a source of added demand, where big companies like search giant Baidu are now accepting Bitcoins for payment. Colas also points to demand for Second Market's recently launched Bitcoin Trust, through which institutional and high net worth investors can invest in Bitcoin. Second Market's Barry Silbert telling CNBC the trust taken in $15 million so far, more than expected. But he also cites other factors that are benefiting Bitcoin, including bullish comments recently from the CIO of the hedge fund giant Fortress, who said he was a buyer. Also, eBay's plans to look at alternative payment methods, including Bitcoins, and upcoming hearings on Capitol Hill. Silbert says these are expected to be more informational rather than confrontational, and that is good for Bitcoin.
Yeah, this is Tom Carper, who is the chairman of the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, released a statement about Silk Road 2.0. He's on the ball, huh? It's so crazy. All of a sudden we have guys like, the statement right away, not even a week or anything in between it.
It's weird.
This new website, launched barely a month after federal agents shut down the original Silk Road, underscores the inescapable reality that technology is dynamic and ever-evolving, and that government policy needs to adapt accordingly.
Apparently it has. Think about it.
Rather than play whack-a-mole with the latest website, currency, or other method criminals are using in an effort to evade the law, we need to develop thoughtful, nimble, sensible federal policies without stifling innovation. So on April, let's see, when do we have? I think it's coming up at the end of the month. We have some hearings. It's all just a little too cozy for me.
Yeah, it's a scam.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know what to make of it. I know what to make of it, but it's the fact that people they were showing they're promoting it too in a funny way. They were showing clips on one of the local TV stations. They made this, the same story that you read,
right? Essentially
floated around, and they showed screenshots of somebody scrolling up and down the screen of this new thing.
Yeah, so this is the Silk Road 2.0.
Yeah, but the thing was, it was like ounce of cocaine, 24 cents. pound of hash.
An ounce? Hold on. An ounce of cocaine?
I swear to God, these numbers were ludicrous. I was thinking I should buy some and invest.
Please, if you can find a couple of ounces at that price, bring it on.
No, and they had like hashish, and it was like $1 a pound. It was
$1 a pound. It's John's 5 and dime drug stall.
I'm telling you, it was like you looked at this because I had to actually stop the DVR and back it up and slow mo it so I could, because this can't be right. It was just ludicrous prices.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that an ounce would be 24 bit cents or whatever. What are they called? Don't they have a name? It's the Satoshis.
Yeah.
Well, this is clearly some masterful manipulation. Just masterful. The way this is going. I mean, it's really, really good. I'm impressed. And I've just set a limit for myself. When they hit 1,000, that's when I sell. If I can sell. I don't know if I can unload them at that point.
Yeah, it's one of those guy calls a stockbroker. He says, I got to get some Flamingo Corporation stock. He says, well, how much do you want? He says, I like to buy 10,000 shares. He says, it's right now it's selling for 5 cents. Mm-hmm. Got your order in, it's 10,000 shares. He says, and I think I'm going to buy another 10,000 shares. And he goes, well, it's up to 10 cents. All right, fine, get it. So this goes on for like a week. Mm-hmm. I need 100,000 shares. I need 200,000 shares. I need 500,000 shares. He says, okay, I got you the shares. There's now $1,000 a share. The guy says, okay, sell. And the other guy, the broker says, to who? Exactly. Well, we shall see. Okay. I notice in the Scandinavian news, we have very few donors from Canada this show. Thunder Bay, somebody came in, but I don't believe that Thunder Bay is in Canada. And we've got to talk about this crazy. This is the kind of thing we need in this country. This mayor of Toronto. Yeah, they've got some good elites there because we don't have anyone this funny. No, and I like just so the guy, for people that don't know the story, because I don't know if it's just local to Canada or the Western Hemisphere or what, but so this Canadian mayor of Toronto got busted by Gawker magazine, who had a video somebody sent them, of all people, smoking crack cocaine. Right, now, this has been ongoing for a long time, where there was this rumored video, and then the people who had the video wanted like $200,000 for it. This has been going on for half a year at least. It's been going on for a while. Yeah. But the great part of the story, the mayor has finally admitted that he was smoking crack cocaine, but he had this fantastic excuse. His excuse was he was hammered. I was stoned. He was wasted on alcohol, and that's the only reason he did it. So this guy's apparently a drunk. Yeah. And if anyone gets a shot at it, we do have a linked in the show notes. The wiki page has him just essentially drunk at the office, staggering around, going to restaurants hammered, yelling at people and cussing everyone out, firing people left and right, grabbing the women that worked there, grabbing their breasts. And it's just like a very humorous guy. The guy won't quit, and they can't seem to get rid of him. That's what I don't understand. I mean, there's no impeachment process, or just let it roll. I have no idea what the deal is. Maybe I don't know. I didn't really look up the Toronto government style, but it might be city managed. And if that's the case, the mayor is just a lunatic figurehead nobody anyway. That could be. I mean, we have that in Oakland. Well, if you look at the wiki page, he's got one of those kind of phony baloney mayor necklaces on. The huge thing with all the challenge coins on it, and then the big like Flavor Flav thing at the bottom, and this drunk head on it. It's pretty cool though. Yeah, it's a good looking. Let me take a look. We need more people like that here in the United States. It is humorous. Ontario Liberals steer clear of Rob Ford Furor, but with options left open for intervention. This is a yesterday's story. Why is Toronto Mayor Rob Paul still popular?
Hello. Everyone else there's drunk and stoned. Like, hey, dude, he's one of us. And remember, you always get the government you deserve.
He looks like I don't know, he has a funny look about him. He's got that puffy face. The guy's only like 40. He looks like he's 70.
Yeah. What, he's only 40? Oh, no, he's yeah, you're right, 69. Huh. My goodness.
He's a young man, literally.
Yeah.
His approval rating actually climbed 5 points.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything else on this guy? Because I think we should move on.
Just telling you, this is what the Canadians want.
Well, we have a new mayor in New York City.
Oh, yeah, this guy.
Bill de Blasio. Did you know that's not his real name?
No, what's his real name?
He changed his name from Warren Wilhelm Jr. When he was a younger man. I guess he's embarrassed about his heritage or something. I'm not quite...
Wilhelm?
Yeah,
his last name wasn't Hitler.
No, close enough, though. Warren Wilhelm Jr. But he changed it to Bill de Blasio. Anyway.
Well, he'll manage...
And I think, didn't he manage Hillary Clinton's campaign? Did I read something about that? I think he did.
I don't know that. Well, if that's the case, how did he win?
Well, no, when she was senator, I think. When she ran for Senate for New York. Let me see. I think there's a Clinton connection, which just makes so much sense. You know, they had, of course, they had their boy who melted down. Yeah, here de Blasio managed. Maybe it was the presidential campaign. Anyway, he managed something for her, so he's a Clinton guy. Makes total sense. Now they
bring him in when they get in. If they get in, I'm starting to think that Chris Christie can still beat the woman. I don't know if that was put properly, but
hey-o. I don't know what you've been doing. I'm a little dismayed by the direction the news media took with this 6-week cycle LAX shooter. In some ways dismayed, in other ways like, oh, same script, the guy shot in the face, can't talk. Gee, where have we heard that one before? That would be the same as the Boston bomber. And definitely moving towards, well, let me see. I have a couple of things here which I wanted to roll out. First of all, we have the witnesses. There's a lot of noise about one of the witnesses who's been interviewed. Here is let me see which witness this is. Oh, okay. There's this guy who they interviewed. Pugh is his last name. I forget his first name. P-U-G-H. And they interviewed him at LAX, and what turns out is this is exactly the same guy who was a freelancer for Fox on 9/11, talking about how the buildings had collapsed because of the fire. He was down on the streets, and so there's these videos floating around of the same guy right after each other, so you can hear it. I mean, it doesn't look exactly the same. You know, even the quality of the video is so different. But you can listen to the voice. It seems pretty convincing. It's exactly the same guy. So, of course, the conspiratorial video going around is crisis actor shows up twice.
Tumbling down. We want to bring in Mark Walsh, who's a freelancer for Fox. You live just a few blocks away and witnessed.
Dude, I live on the 43rd floor of a building, which is 5 blocks from the World Trade Center itself. I witnessed the entire thing from beginning to end.
How many shots did you hear?
I heard probably 8 or 10 altogether, and I was...
Sounds like the same guy to me. How about you?
Yeah, it is the same guy. He's got the same pattern.
Exactly the same.
Excited quality.
Within 30 seconds. I mean,
we put that on his sheet. Very excited quality. Very good.
I was watching with my roommate. It was approximately several minutes after the first plane had hit. I saw this plane come out of nowhere and just ream right into the side of the Twin Tower, exploding through the other side. I was at the very back of the line, and the guy who was shooting was right coming up.
God, it is the same guy, except he has a different name. So that, of course, adds...
Well, there are people that have similar pattern in the way they talk, but this guy is the same guy.
It's the same guy. It's the same guy. That's not quite as egregious, though, as...
But what's the point? That he was...
the point...
He didn't bring anything to the table at neither one of these reports.
He
confirmed the plane hitting. That brought something to the table, but... What does he talk about with the shooter? I'm not seeing how any of it's important.
Because I'm going to presume...
No, I'm not talking about the coincidence being important or not.
I'm going to presume...
I don't see what he says.
He's solidifying
that would contribute to the importance of the report.
He's solidifying that this shooting at LAX happened at all. And
okay. Well, that's right. You're going to go back to square one that the whole thing is bull crap.
Well, there's a couple of annoyances. So there's apparently, just like the Boston bombing, there is footage of this guy, and I know LAX, where you have to go up the escalator to go to the actual checkpoint, and there's a person downstairs who looks at, which I don't even know if it's always a TSA employee, who looks at your ticket before you get to go up the escalator. So that apparently, it was this Hernandez guy who, and this is right by the doorway opening. So, I'm missing blood shots. I'm missing so much. We have nothing, absolutely nothing. And now there's this surveillance footage.
What do you mean you're missing blood shots? There was that the Daily Post, the Post, New York Post had that the spleen. There was a spleen in the picture.
That was the Daily News. And there was no spleen. It was like some tomato soup can they upturned. That made no sense. And now they're blurring that out. If you go look for it, everyone who shows that picture, they blur it out now, the big stain, because it looks so really unbelievable. No, but so apparently there's surveillance footage of this Ciancia guy shooting the guy who just checks your ticket before you even go up to have your ticket checked, because LA has like this double thing. Which is really just crowd control. Then he apparently saw him moving, went back down, and then finished him off the way it's... and I read the criminal complaint as well, which I have some issue with. But so instead of showing that, ABC News has put together this really elaborate animated version. Did
they get it from Japan?
It looks like one of those, exactly one of those, what is that outfit that does that?
I can't remember, but they do it for everything. They will have one out.
So this is literally animated. It is not the real video, but this is all the training.
Our coverage tonight begins with ABC's David Wright at LAX, where he's been since the start.
Moments before all this, Paul Ciancia arrived at LAX.
So that's the TMZ footage that is shown over and over again of people running.
LAX like a passenger dropped off by someone driving a black Hyundai. The criminal complaint filed Saturday in federal court describes a cold-blooded attack. It says video surveillance showed Ciancia walking up to the TSA checkpoint in Terminal 3, pulling a Smith & Wesson assault rifle out of his bag.
Which is not even in the complaint, by the way, this detail of a Smith & Wesson.
And firing multiple shots at point-blank range at a TSA officer.
This is all animated.
Then it says as he proceeded up the escalator, he looked back at the wounded officer, who in video appeared to move, and returned to shoot the officer again.
So you have to watch this if you have a chance, link in the show notes, because they're showing you an animation that does not represent the LAX situation at all. There is no checkpoint downstairs. It's just a guy with some, like the ribbons. And you have to go through the ribbons. It's kind of crowd control.
Why was the point of defaming Smith & Wesson in this report?
I don't know. So I pulled the complaint, which was filed. This is also very quickly, I don't know if this is normal, how quickly this was filed by special agent of the FBI who filed this, whereas, I don't know. I don't know if that's a typical procedure. And there's just a couple of things I wanted to highlight. Instead of saying on November 1st, it says on or about November 1st in Los Angeles County, this took place. I don't know if that's typical for a filing, on or about.
That doesn't make sense.
Well, why would they say it?
It wasn't on or about.
It says on or about November 1st, 2013 in Los Angeles County within the District of California, blah, blah, blah. And then it keeps on, it says, Paul Anthony Ciancia, unlawfully and intentionally using a firearm, performed an act of violence at Los Angeles International Airport, an airport serving international civil aviation. And there's something about that is interesting. So here we have, according to eyewitnesses, and video surveillance footage. So this is not even really fact. It's like according to eyewitnesses and surveillance footage, which apparently exists but we haven't seen. And then it says Ciancia began to
busy. These guys are taking way too long. They need to get some experts in.
Well, listen to this.
Final Cut Pro.
Yeah,
and some other, because this takes forever for them to doctor these videos.
So, point 7.
Why can't you do it in a week? In 2 days, you should be able to have a doctored video out.
Here's some details that the news is reporting on, and this is the only factual information we have that has been filed in public. As the special agent says, I learned from other law enforcement agents that a bag that Ciancia carried with him at the scene, agents recovered a handwritten letter signed by Ciancia stating that Ciancia had, quote, made the conscious decision to try to kill multiple TSA employees. So he hasn't even seen this. He says, I learned from other law enforcement agents. He hasn't even seen this note, according to the filing. And then here's the one. If you're a special agent with the FBI, do you write this? Ciancia's possessions on the scene also included 5 magazine clips of ammunition for his assault rifle. I'm sorry. If you are a trained, seasoned FBI agent, you say magazine, maybe you say clips if it's clips to load a magazine, but you don't say magazine clips. Who wrote this? This is not anyone who's handled a firearm, John. And then, interestingly, the actual complaint, based on the foregoing, I believe that there's probable cause to believe that Paul Anthony Ciancia violated United States Code Section 37, violence at international airports. And that's he's not being charged with murder. He's being charged with violence at international airports, which is like this weird thing that I think has to do with how terrorism... I think
this is pretty telling.
Well, this is how terrorism laws are going to change because of this. And I have kind of gone down...
Well, it's always a reason for these things to take place.
Yes. I think we can... I can point some of that out, but...
I'm going to read from a document. One is a clip, couple photos. One is a clip, one is a magazine. Yes, they are different, non-interchangeable terms. Although do a quick search of recent news covering the gun control debate, and you'll see how often the term clip specifically is used incorrectly.
Yeah, but then to use them together, magazine clips, that's completely ludicrous.
Thing.
It doesn't exist. So this is a special agent with the FBI who's been a special agent for 9 years?
A clip describes cartridges held together with a strip until they're loaded into a firearm. A magazine is a container that holds the cartridges. All right, go on.
All right. So that's just irritating. We have no video. We've never seen the video from the Boston bombing where these boys put their backpacks into the trash can.
And we seem to be the only podcast
any broadcast
that ever mentions that this is a missing in action clip.
Even the governor of Massachusetts says he hasn't seen it, but he's reliably informed. So we just haven't seen this.
But why would you? And the question the governor of Massachusetts, apparently a toady, should be asking is, why can't I see it? Was the guy naked, or was he?
This is the problem.
The thing he was doing, was he peeing in the bucket? We don't know.
We see the surveillance video. We hear 911 calls for 99% of all crimes in the United States. But when it comes to, unfortunately, situations that are questionable, where we have literally seen nothing. We have seen nothing. But then we don't get to see or hear anything. And maybe it's being done on purpose to fuel the nut jobs, because, boy, they're coming after us. This show is not long for the airwaves, as far as I'm concerned. Here's Aaron Burnett there on, or at least I'm not long for the airwaves, maybe. Aaron Burnett on the CNN. She had my buddy there, Potok, who seems to be like the only guy at the Southern Poverty Law Center. Now, we read you their news exclusive. And she pulled out all the stops.
We are learning more about the alleged gunman, Paul Ciancia, and why he may have been targeting TSA officers specifically. So according to the latest that we have from the FBI, investigators found a note from Ciancia that made it clear he wanted to kill TSA officers and, quote, instill fear into their traitorous minds.
And no one has seen this note. Why can't we just see the note?
It doesn't take much to take a picture of it.
We have Ted Kaczynski's manifesto. We have Breivik's compendium. We have everything. But then we can't see this. And this is, according to the complaint, the filing agent only heard about it.
Yeah, he didn't see it either.
He didn't see it either.
Now, Ciancia said he acted alone, but the question is, was he part of an anti-government group?
The guy said he'd been shot in the face, yet he was able to tell the police he was...
that is rising in popularity across the United States. As in, could this happen again?
Ooh.
Out front tonight, Mark Potok, a senior fellow at the Southern Poverty Law Center, and Michael...
He is the fellow.
Medved, a conservative syndicated radio show host. Great to have both of you with us. Mark, you spend your entire life tracking these sorts of things. You say, according to Ciancia's writings, he appears to be aligned with a conspiracy-minded anti-government patriot movement. Very important word there.
Very important word. Now pay attention, slaves. Very important word. Aaron says patriot, 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 patriot. Very important word.
Patriot.
Patriot.
Which
patriot.
believes about the federal government that the federal government wants to destroy American freedoms, force the United States into a socialistic world government, impose martial law, and take away non-law enforcement weapons.
Yeah, it's pretty much what's going on. Except this now being pinned on this guy somehow.
Are you convinced that Ciancia was part of this movement?
No, I think convinced would be a little strong.
Just a little strong, but let's bring it up anyway.
We learned over the weekend that there were some other references in his one-page handwritten note.
Now, how come we can't get these references? How come he gets to learn this and even the filing agent doesn't? I want to see this evidence, please.
He talked about the New World Order. He talked about fiat currency, and he talked about the Federal Reserve. In the world of the patriot groups, or what we used to call them...
How long is this note?
It's long.
Militia groups. Those things all relate to a single conspiracy theory. The idea that that there is a plot on the part of the government to create a one-world government, a socialistic, totalitarian regime, to be called the New World Order.
You know, this has been going on since it was written in 19...
of the George Bush clip?
No, I've got a nice combo for you coming up. Don't worry, I've got it.
Many people in the patriot world trace that conspiracy, that alleged conspiracy, to the formation of the Federal Reserve in 1913 and the subsequent abolition of gold-backed money. In other words, the adoption of fiat money, meaning paper money that is not...
As we go along.
No, he's just parroting whatever is out there.
Backed by gold.
Basically, anyone who supported Ron Paul has these notions.
It's simply that kind of language in the note that he left. He also, we learned, had some very personal attacks.
Stop. I'm just going to try to outguess what Aaron's going to do. And tell me if I'm right or wrong here. Aaron is going to ask him, because that's what I would do if I was the host of this and this guy was on here. Aaron is going to ask him point blank, so did you see the note?
No. If I were Aaron, I would steer the conversation towards racism, because we need to train the slaves of the media Googling empire who just love and lap this up. We need to train them into submission, that we hate each other, and where it's red and blue and black and white and left and right, and we hate each other and hate your brother and suspect your neighbor.
According to your research, the Patriot movement has surged since President Obama took office. 149 groups linked to that when he started, more than 1,300 last year. Do you think this is rooted in racism against the president?
Oh, that's the question you need, Aaron.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. She brings this bull crap in out of the blue, and she never asked the guy, did you see the note that you're quoting from?
No, she hasn't seen the note either. This is now just, it exists. It doesn't, because
she doesn't find this unusual. But she thinks it's racist somehow.
This is the narrative. There's a couple other narratives.
I don't know. Is she like drugged? What do you think is wrong with her?
She's highly pregnant. She's about to give birth. So that, she's just reading.
I'm just wondering about her line of questioning. Why she was?
She's just reading the prompter, John.
Enough trouble maintaining an audience without creating this animosity and hate.
Well, here it comes.
Yes. I'm willing to give up the word very rapidly growing number of so-called patriot groups or militia groups. I mean, the growth has been just astounding, and it really did begin in the fall of 2008, the beginning of 2009. In other words, precisely when our first black president is coming to power. So I think that one of the big drivers of this movement is not only the person of Obama, a black man in the White House, but the demographic change in our country that he represents. The idea that the white majority in this country will be lost in about 30 years.
This guy is so despicable. So despicable. And I know we talked about it on Thursday, but he has no fact. There's no basis in reality here.
Let's bring one thing up right now. If you Google the growth of patriot groups, and these bogus numbers. There's no proof of these numbers. Have you been approached, or you know anybody? We have a broad range of listeners. Do we have a bunch of Patriot Group people that are infiltrating and moaning and groaning in the chat room or any place else?
No.
The entire Patriot movement explosion comes directly from the supposed facts of the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Correct. And if you look at, and people have done this, if you look at all these 1,400 hate groups, patriot groups, Christian hate groups, as he calls them, you'll see that a lot of them, is like, some website somewhere, some guy. It's like, I think the classification of what is a hate group has been stretched quite a bit by the Southern Poverty Law Center. But they're the go-to guys for this stuff. It is complete and total mind control. Now let's get to the New World Order. Yes, I will play the clip one more time, but there's something else that President Bush said that caught my ear in relationship to something that was just broadcast on television.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle.
Not the law of the jungle. So just bear that in mind for a second. The rule of law, not the law of the jungle,
governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be.
Oh, yeah.
We have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Okay, so the promise and vision of the UN's founders is the New World Order. This is what the president is saying. And he's repeated this, and this has been repeated by the Pope, by Clinton, but everyone's repeated this New World Order thing. And the idea was we'd have the United Nations, not making it up, you just heard it, United Nations would kind of sit above this, and they'd have the rule of law, not the law of the jungle. So if you look at the United States of Europe, it is very much what this vision is. And here's Fareed Zakaria with his little moment. And he brought this jungle thing up not once, not twice, but 3 times in this context.
In 2002, the British diplomat Robert Cooper wrote an influential essay in which he argued that Europe had become a postmodern international system.
That's pretty much the New World Order.
In which force was no longer a serious option. Instead, economic interdependence and cooperation were the governing ideas of statecraft.
Yeah, and banking and stealing people's money and starving them and just forcing them into submission through non-elected leaders in Brussels.
And certainly when one looks at the European Union, this does seem to describe its reality. The prospect of war between France and Germany, which had gone to war 3 times between 1870 and 1950, seems utterly impossible. But outside of Europe, the world is not postmodern. Cooper argues that the solution is double standards. Within Europe, one set of rules. Outside it, he recommends rougher methods of an earlier era. Force, preemptive attack, deception, whatever is necessary. Among ourselves, we keep the law, but when operating in the jungle, we must use the laws of the jungle, he wrote. This is what was violated by the NSA activities.
So he just keeps talking about the law of the jungle. So I'm hearing, regardless of, I don't think this Paul Ciancia had any note. We have no evidence of a note. Everyone just parroting that there was a note. There was no note filed with the complaint. The complaint says, I've heard about the note. There was no note. But this narrative is now being used, and I think that's something to pay attention to at least. Now, as a part of this, we have I wasn't actually expecting this to happen, and I was wondering if there was maybe some kind of beef that the TSA union had, but I couldn't find anything. But the head of the union...
The head of the union representing officers with the Transportation Security Administration issued a statement calling for some of those officers to be armed in the aftermath of Friday's shooting at Los Angeles International Airport. The statement reads, in part, quote, "At this time, we feel a larger and more consistent armed presence in screening areas would be a positive step in improving security for both TSOs and the flying public. The development of a new class of TSA officers with law enforcement status would be a logical approach to accomplishing this goal," unquote.
Fantastic.
I think this would be great. And the reason I think that is because, these guys, most people, if you're not trained a certain way, these guys are going to be trigger happy. And they're going to be pulling their gun out when somebody gives them some grief. Well, so put your bag on the thing. But
you know how they yell?
That era?
Oh, yeah, of course. But the thing is, they didn't properly trained. They are employees. They are the same screeners we had before 9/11. They're not agents. You remember how when they finally went from the patch to a badge, how they were crying, how happy they were?
And they were very happy to have the badge. And we, at the time, when they first happened...
They don't deserve a badge.
I think that the two of us... Of course not. But I think that the two of us... I could be wrong, but it's because it was a while ago, actually predicted them being armed.
Oh, it was probably pre-Red Book even that we said this would happen.
Yeah, it's bound to happen.
So I don't care too much about the head of the union, but when it comes to Holder, the head of all things legal in America...
The function of the TSA is to ensure that people can board planes safely, take flights safely. The responsibility for protecting airport security is not a TSA function, but something that I think we need to certainly examine given what happened in Los Angeles.
Well, it's not a function, but I think we should examine it. Right. All right, now some morons...
So you picked up a lot of clips on this.
Yeah.
Was there any moment, any clip? Because I haven't found anything, and I just kind of gave up. Any moment or anything where somebody says, "Hey, these lines that are out in front of security, it makes this entire public, especially once they're in the cattle line, sitting ducks for all kinds of problems where they can get killed." Is there anybody bring that up?
There were...
The sitting ducks thing?
I did not hear the sitting duck. No, I did not hear sitting duck. I did hear some fun stuff on MSNBC, which kind of, it's Pete Williams. I'm not sure who he is. I don't know if he's a commentator. He threw out something regarding the conspiracy theory angle, which was concerning.
Well, this is not one of those investigations where every 10 minutes brings some other revelation.
Yeah, it is. There's revelations that bogative.
I think this is going to be a long, slow go now to try to find out the answer to the key question, which is, why did he do it? There's nothing that his friends or roommates say that they thought he was an adherent to this extremist anti-government view that's expressed in this handwritten letter that he had, which is a sort of general rant of the usual stuff about the Federal Reserve. And
a general rant about the usual stuff. Wow. That's pretty blatant, John.
A general rant about the usual stuff.
Yeah, the usual
the
stuff.
Federal government and the currencies and one world order.
One world order.
That. Huh. And for some reason, a specific attack on the TSA, which he said...
You can't have any opinion anymore. This is a big shut-up slave moment. All right, now, this was very interesting. Of course, someone's always going to bring up the gun angle, which we know what that's about, and I'll repeat it, and it'll become evident in this clip, in these two clips. That the entire gun ban, assault weapon ban, whatever has been going on, is not really because the president or any lawmakers care about you being killed by a gun. They want the women of the United States to never vote for the Republican Party ever again because they're seen as being pro-killing innocent people and children. It's a very, very smart political move. And they have this woman on MSNBC. I have her name somewhere. She's a commentator, and she brought something out about the Second Amendment. You know, this is one of my pet peeves, how people discuss what the Second Amendment is, and this was just took it to a new level. And I will remind everybody, the Second Amendment does not give anyone the right to bear arms or have a firearm. It is a protection against, apparently, an inherent right. It says the Congress, the government, the federal government can make no law against this. So it is not giving anyone a right that you already have. It is prohibiting the federal government from making laws about it.
Yes, and only the federal government.
And only the federal government.
You could be in a dry state, and by dry I mean no guns.
Yep.
In the state of New York or the state of Connecticut or the state of any place you want.
State of Chicago.
And you can have another state, Georgia, let's say, or Nebraska, where you could be allowed to own anything you want.
Correct. And of
course,
course,
always overlooked is the 10th Amendment issue, and this is the real crux of all this stuff, all these arguments. But yeah, you're right. And people would need to be reminded that it's just about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights are all about restraining the federal government from imposing these broad-reaching edicts.
Right. So when politicians say, "Oh, I believe strongly in everyone's Second Amendment right," and they're implying that gives you the right to have a gun in your possession. That is not what the Second Amendment is about. This woman took it to a whole new level.
So we have this, once again, confluence of, we don't really know what the motives are, but there was this literature of sort of anti-government, random sort of anti-government fervor, and
random anti-government fervor. That's our podcast right there in a nutshell. Random.
Did she see the note?
I don't believe she did, John. It's just parroting.
Sure. What can we realistically attack? We can't deal with people's ideology, but you have this problem of guns. He's got all the way up to a checkpoint. There's literally nothing that could have been done to stop him.
Sure. Well, I think actually there are a couple of things that could have been done to stop him, but ironically, it was these kinds of weapons that not so far away in South Central Los Angeles, when we had gang wars happening, when we had black boys killing one another with these kinds of weapons, that really pushed the first assault weapons ban that came to us. And so it is ironic now that when we see these kinds of weapons going into our airports, where we have thousands of travelers coming through LAX each day, when we aren't making the same call, maybe it's because who is holding the gun. But what could we do to stop it? We could ban high-capacity magazines. We could ban military assault-style weapons. They should not be in the hands of civilians. Look, I am a firm proponent of the Second Amendment, but not this bastardized version that says that anybody can have anything they want at any time that they want.
She doesn't like the bastardized version of the Second Amendment. When did we change it to the bastardized Second Amendment, lady?
Who was that fast-talking weirdo?
I have her name here somewhere. She is, let me see. She's actually famous. I hate to say it. What the hell is her name? I'm sorry. Maybe it's under videos. I have her name somewhere. She's like, she blogs on the Grio, I think, which is an MSNBC website for the African American community.
Oh, she's black?
Yes.
Most of the shootings down in the LA area were all with handguns, drive-bys. They weren't using AR-15s.
Well, and now they had this whole conversation, and she's like the bastardized version. There's no bastardized version of the Second Amendment. It's a crazy woman. But here she says it out blatantly. What the plan is to change the voting habit. As she doesn't say women, but here's two women talking, so I'm going to just be presumptive.
And Goldie, and yet you do have...
Goldie is her name. Goldie something or other. I'll find it.
This sort of sense of political paralysis. These shootings happen. Sure. It's an outrage on the media. We talk about it for a few days, and then we go back to doing nothing. If nothing was done after Sandy Hook, is there any hope whatsoever that the Congress will take up the remedies that John just mentioned?
I think it will take a turning of the House of Representatives, frankly. We've got gerrymandered congressmen and women sitting there in Congress who are not necessarily following the will of the people. 80% of people across this country agree that we ought to have background checks, that we ought to close the gun show loopholes, that we should not allow adjudicated mentally...
Did she say 80%? What, did it go down?
What is she saying?
I think she said 80.
Play it again. I'm looking. It's Goldie Taylor.
Goldie Taylor, yeah.
There in Congress who are not necessarily following the will of the people. 80% of people across this country agree that we ought to have
Wait a minute. It was 95. It went down to 80?
Background checks, that we ought to close the gun show loopholes, that we should not allow adjudicated mentally ill people to be able to buy weapons. We believe across this country, 90% of us don't believe that high-capacity magazines...
Oh, now it's 90. We went from 80 to 90.
...magazines belong in the hands of civilians. And so why can't this Congress, this GOP-controlled Congress, make those kinds of policy decisions? It's because they're bought and paid for by the NRA, who don't represent everyday Americans. They represent the gun manufacturers, and their only job as gun manufacturers is to make sure that there's a further proliferation of guns in this country.
Don't vote GOP is the message. It's the GOP. Don't vote GOP.
Yeah, I think we can make this point till the hell freezes over that this whole thing is a scam just to to scare the women folk.
Yep, the women folk. So anyway, and then we had a mall shooting in New Jersey where the guy is shooting out lights. 6 hours later, he's dead.
There's a bunch of these things. We have to put together. I'll probably do it for one of the newsletters. A checklist of earmarks of the 6-week cycle events. Always involves the FBI right from the get-go.
Yes. And typically the shooter has 3 names, not 2.
Yeah, that's right. I got to get that in there in the checklist.
Yeah.
The thing is that there are random events that do take place. I mean, in Oakland, people are being shot every couple days.
Yeah, but
it's not part of the 6-week cycle. The FBI is not involved. In fact, they won't even tell us who they are.
But I think it was it Louisiana, or there was 9 people shot in a convenience store. There's no CNN on the scene. No one's down there like, 9 people shot. There's no one. It's not just a helicopter shot.
Right, and not that, but that's more people than were shot at the LAX thing.
And for the New Jersey Mall, they didn't break in and do hours and hours on CNN. It's a mall. Why? Then we had the Connecticut College, which turned out to be a guy in a Halloween costume. Did you hear this?
No, I missed this.
Crisis on campus!
First at noon, a crisis on campus. Classes have resumed today at Central Connecticut State University, though some of the fear from yesterday's lockdown after reports of a gunman on campus is still lingering. I'm Kara Sundlin. Thanks for being here, everyone. Even though we now know there was no gunman and it turned out to be a young man in a Halloween costume, the response was massive and scary for some.
Yeah. I think it's all just slave training, John. This is all about listen to the police, do as you're told, shelter in place, cower in the corner, shut up, slave, don't come out, do as you're told, listen to what law enforcement says. I think it's just training.
Well, I think you have to get people in the right frame of mind to train them. You got to get
them scared.
You got to scare them, but I think you can actually scare them in different ways. I think, for example, and I have this clip, which is this was done actually early in this year, and it was one of these podcasts, and I'm not going to mention what it was, but it's a podcast who has this phony guy call in who's the DHS insider.
Oh, okay.
And his voice is kind of like this.
Did they do a vocoder with like the up or down and like the auto tune?
No, it's not auto tune. It's just muffled.
Okay,
DHS auto tune would be better because it would have that funny thing.
Right. All right, do we play this?
This guy. Now, the thing you have to note, I'm going to just give away the punchline at the beginning, which is this was done like in February of 2013, predicting all, the big crisis was going to get us all by this last spring. Of course, nothing happened as usual. But, and it's all part of this another one of these scam memes about making the dollar worthless.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, another way of scaring the public. And I'm wondering if, everybody is doing it. You have your targeted groups, which is the public in general. You have your right-wingers, you have your left-wingers, and you have your moderates. And you have your left-wingers being scared to death of these dangerous guns, and that you're going to get killed, and the likelihood of you getting killed, could happen to anybody. And then you have the right-wingers, which are, they're the crazy.
They're afraid of the socialist commies are going to get them.
Yeah, so but listen to this report because I just found it to be hilarious.
Police for certain operations that are being planned right now. This is so important that you cannot even begin to imagine. If you get nothing else out of this, please make sure you tell people to watch the TSA and their increasing involvement against the American public. They are the stooges who will be the ones to carry out certain plans when the dollar collapses and the gun confiscation begins.
Whoa, wait a minute. You just said a mouthful. What's the agenda here?
Your intelligence insider, he knows that we're facing a planned economic collapse. You wrote about this in your article about Benghazi, or at least that's what I got out of later articles. So why the surprise?
There's a lot here. Let's take it step by step if you don't mind.
Okay, but I'm not going to give it to you in baby steps, big boy steps. This is what I'm hearing. Life for the average American is going to change significantly, and not the change people expect. First, DHS is preparing to work with police departments and the TSA.
Wait a minute. Does this guy sell you, like, some stock at the end of this?
No, this is all straight.
This is scripted.
To respond to civil uprisings.
You think?
Yeah.
Will happen.
You think he's reading it?
Yeah.
There's a financial panic, and there will be one. Maybe as early as this spring, when the dollar won't get you a gumball. I'm not sure what the catalyst will be, but I've heard rumblings about derivative crisis as well as an oil embargo. I don't know. That's not my department. But
this is I think this is the guy from Stansberry Research. Is that this guy?
No.
This is bullshit. No. This is. I'm going to play.
There's a bunch of these things.
Bullshit. Yeah, this is to scare people into buying gold.
No,
or
but
buying
in this
seeds.
case, there was no pitch.
Oh, please! What show is this? I got to listen to this. This is bull
I'll
crap.
dig it up.
This is total bull crap. Of course, this is the Stansberry Research. I'm telling you.
I wouldn't be surprised, but I know that the idea is we're going to have this economic crisis tomorrow.
Yeah.
If these guys would do a better job, if you played the whole clip, the guy goes on and says this has been planned since the 90s.
Right.
And which is like, how long does it take you to collapse the economy if that was what you were into doing?
Right. So
this is, the economy is not collapsing yet.
It's not necessarily either extreme, but what I do see a very systemic programming of minds. And it's not just here, it's everywhere. In fact, the European Union just got the let me see, the big giant voice system. I think it's for all of Europe or something. That your phone will here, let me see. Here it is. 4 million people. Oh, this is so they just started this. They did a test in Gitmo Lowlands. 4 million people got a giant voice alert. They're trying to roll this out all across Europe. And there's a lot of weird stuff happening, but all of it comes down to basically do as you're told. Do as you're told. And I think it's necessary because we are going to see more issues. It's starting in Europe. It's been going on for years now where people are rioting, because they have no job, no prospects. And it can only be a matter of time until that happens here, unless you continue to train people into submission. And I don't know if it's really planned necessarily.
I don't think you can do that, by the way.
You can't?
It's like if you don't have any way out, you don't have a possibility of a job, you have all these responsibilities. There was a really good report. Fortunately, I didn't get to clip it, but of a woman they had followed around New York who was living on minimum wage, and and she had to raise a family of 7.
I heard this it was on NPR, and she was talking and how she got she worked at fast food. She worked at McDonald's.
That's right. It was on NPR.
Yeah, I heard it.
It was not NPR, PBS NewsHour.
Yes, that's what
different.
It was. Yeah, no, I heard the report.
It was very good, and it it shows you that just getting by was like a joke, and the reason that I wanted to clip it because it had all these mac and cheese references. There was a slew of them. She buys every week.
That's why I didn't clip it. I'm like, oh, mac and cheese. Okay, really?
7 boxes
and chicken like guts or whatever.
Cheap chicken, and so it was like a pathetic situation, and you can see that if you don't even have this. I don't know. I mean, there are no opportunities, and there's no opportunities opening up, and the shadow stats guys show increasing unemployment. This will come to a head, But it's not for a while because they've been doing a great job of buffaloing the public into thinking everything is not that bad.
Well, not just that, but also we do have, certainly in the United States, we have quite a safety net that is still there, that has been expanded. Now we're starting, I don't know why, but as a part of the Farm Bill, now it's like, we're taking off $36 a month from everybody's food stamps, the SNAP benefits. And, it seems like we have plenty of money to go around for other imbecile things, so we certainly didn't have to do that. But okay, I mean, why? Do you want to just tease people? It's like either we have a safety net or we don't. And
that was ridiculous. I don't know why they did that. Were they just looking for trouble?
Yeah, I think that's what it felt like. Just we had the cards not work. I still think it was a good test, whether it was intended or not. Okay, people they freaked out, but they didn't riot. They just left all their trolleys at the Walmart. But now we just pull it back a little bit. I just don't I don't know. But I think there is a measure of training going on worldwide that is telling us how to act, how to be. It's part of the cultural Marxism we talk about, the political correctness. All of that it's a part of it. And it's very, very effective. We had a young lady over here who's involved in the art world. And she's from Canada, and her parents are from the West Indies.
By the way, I'm going to start calling it Scandinavia.
So she's from Scandinavia, and her parents are from the West Indies, so she's brown. And so she had a meeting with Mickey, and and she's been in Austin. Her husband works here, and she's been in Austin for a year or two. 2 years, mind you. Yeah, but for her, it's Texas, and she's from Scandinavia. And she was like, wow, what happened today is someone rolled down. Someone didn't take advantage of the opportunity in traffic, so I zipped into the spot, which means she cut somebody off. Which is not an Austin thing, by the way. And he said, and the woman stopped traffic, rolled down her window, and started yelling at me. And I think she swallowed the N-word. I'm like, you're just making it up now. But this is how people have been. And she's trained. She hasn't been here. I don't know where. She's been trained external in Scandinavia. That Texas is one big racial bunch of Yahoo rednecks. And this is Austin, and she thinks that. And it's just not true.
Well.
But this is the training that people are receiving. And it's this. You wrote the newsletter. Very good newsletter, I'll say. It's not healthy what people are getting on television, the right, the left. It's not healthy. It is not healthy. You need to turn it off. We'll give you all the nuggets.
They do. There was a bunch of stereotypes they like to promote, which is really contradictory if you think they're trying to train everybody to be politically correct and all the rest of it, and not no hate.
Right.
And then they promote, for some reason, the stupid. It's like I think cultures that kind of question the litany, like Texas.
Yeah.
Texas got all kinds of weird stuff going on. They got crazy religious fanatics. Mm-hmm. They got the libertarians. They got all kinds of stuff. It's just a good variety of craziness.
Yeah, we're variety.
And they have both beef and they do have pork too.
That's right. We're a good variety of crazy. Not like California, where you just have Scientology. I mean, come on, get it together. Get something crazy going on out there.
So, but the news media likes to ridicule these parts of the country. And you see it with Duck Dynasty. And the Duck Dynasty guys are actually businessmen, and they're kind of irked by – there's a lot of reports about them on how the network wants them to act more stupid.
Yeah, and more redneck.
Yeah, and more rednecks. Yeah. That's not the way we are. We just, we got these beards and we live in Louisiana, but we're not that stupid.
Yeah, and I will point out, biggest show on cable television.
Right.
Huge. Well, there's something else. So this is very good you point this out. Something is coming down the pike right now, and I looked into this because I was like, what is it? I got an email from Valerie Jarrett.
I got the same email. You got on their mailing list finally.
Yeah, I got and it said, hello, .. She doesn't know my name. This week, the U.S. Senate voted to consider the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, or ENDA. This legislation has a very clear purpose to make sure that no one can be fired for who they are or who they love.
Yeah. By the way, let me get this straight. Let me ask you. You probably read the thing more carefully than I did because I roll my eyes.
I have a lot to say about this.
Good. Well, then I can ask you some questions in advance.
Okay.
So ENDA, which means you can't be fired for who you are. So if you are
this is purely about sexual orientation.
It says, I thought it said who you are.
Yes, that's
Can you be a Nazi, a fascist?
Yes, no, you can be hired and fired if you're a Nazi, but listen, Jay Carney is going to answer all your questions. He did a special video on the whitehouse.gov site. A special video Jay did now. And I can tell you what this is about. This is about more...
Well, I want to hear it.
More...
Hi, we wanted to give you an update on an issue that I get asked about a lot in the White House briefing room. It's called the Employment Non-Discrimination Act. And the Senate is discussing this critically important piece of legislation this week. The bill provides strong federal protections against discrimination, making it explicitly illegal to fire someone who is gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender. It's hard to believe, but only 17 states currently prohibit discrimination against LGBT Americans.
Gee, do you think that the South and Texas isn't on board with this law?
As a result, millions of Americans across the country go to work every day afraid and fearful that they might lose their jobs just because of who they are or who they love.
Now, I'm calling bull crap on this. Millions of Americans go to work afraid of who they are and who they love. Really, Jay Carney? Could you please show me those statistics?
That's not only unfair, it's contrary to the essence of what it means to be American. It's contrary to our values.
The essence, the
values. And
values.
it's also bad for business. And that's why a majority of Fortune 500 companies support employment non-discrimination policies, and so do small businesses. Because they know employment non-discrimination policies are better for the bottom line because it allows these companies to attract the best and the brightest to their businesses. Congress has the opportunity and the responsibility to act by passing ENDA, a fully inclusive ENDA. President Obama has expressed his support for ENDA many times over the years, most recently in an op-ed in the Huffington Post, where he said, who you are or who you love shouldn't be a fireable offense.
Yeah.
So share this message that it's time to end workplace discrimination in this country.
Okay, now here's what
if you
need.
love Hitler?
Now that's fine. Let me just explain what's going on here. This you're going to because when I saw the op-ed in the Huffington Post,
and by the way, before you go on, I do want to say that there was a meeting to come up with the who you are, who you love.
Oh yeah, there was
because the term love is always loaded.
But this
and it just makes the thing. It softens the blow. Very well done, by the way.
Then I just want to explain to people what this is about so you understand, because you're going to hear this a lot. This is essentially saying Republicans hate gays. That is all that this is about. This ENDA has been introduced into Congress, every Congress since 1994, and actually this similar legislation, which didn't have the transgender part in it, has been introduced since 1974. This is not new. This is not like something that just popped out of the woodwork. They do this right when you get ready for elections, because we have to let you know that the Republicans and anyone else who opposes ENDA are gay-hating assholes. Now, the problem, I'm telling you, this is what it is. And they've refined this with who you are or who you love. What the problem with this legislation, which I have read for you, I do this out of the goodness of my heart. The problem is, first of all, these protections are guaranteed constitutionally, so it's not even necessary. But okay, we want to pour some crap on top at a federal level. You really want to do that? Is it really somehow we can do this if you're transgendered? And by the way, it's not for bi-curious, only for bisexual. So I'm being discriminated right off the bat. It is a very dangerous piece of legislation, mainly because it is not just being fired, but also about being hired. So it would increase lawsuits and bullcrap by just such an incredible amount. So you can say, I don't know how you prove it, but you can say, because I'm bi-curious. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't count. Because I'm bisexual, I wasn't hired. I'm going to sue that company. So it's not just about being fired, but about not being hired. Furthermore, it has an exemption for any religious group. Of course, that's another great one. Oh, the Republicans, the crazy, the religious right, the idiots, they don't want it. Ah! And the U.S. Army, which no one talks about. The U.S. Army, so you can be fired for being gay in the U.S. Army, in the armed forces. The exception is right in the legislation. So this is a red herring. It's not going to pass. It's going to be, once we get over whatever the message of the day is, I guess we all have to yell about, the crazy country hicks who made a joke about Obamacare on the Country Music Awards. So that'll run its course. And then it's the crazy right, the crazy rednecks, the southern states, they hate gays. That's what it's going to be. So you be prepared for it so you know what's coming. And that is why you listen to the No Agenda show, so that when this happens, you can be, and people be like, it's nuts. I can't believe it. Who would not want to give equal rights to gay people? You say, well, this has been going on since 1974. Every Congress has voted this down because there's a whole bunch of exceptions that make no sense, and you're already constitutionally protected. And you can say it with a calm voice like that.
Yes, which is what you should do.
Yeah.
So I was looking at some stats. What do you think the top three in terms of gay, lesbian, transsexual, et cetera, QQ populations? What are the three top cities in the United States in order?
New York?
Nope.
California? Is that the top?
California's number, not California, cities.
Oh, cities. I'm sorry, cities. Oh, San Francisco.
Yes, number one.
Number two, Los Angeles.
Wrong.
Hold on, let me.
Wait a minute, I don't have the buzzer.
Yeah, I'm giving myself the buzzer. Okay, number two. Is it in California?
No.
Buffalo.
What if it was in California? What possible city
I would still say Los Angeles. I would say Los Angeles. Isn't that where all damn homosexuals are in the entertainment business?
Number one is San Francisco.
Right. All right. And what's number two?
You're not going to guess?
Okay. Number two, Austin, Texas.
Just because you're there. Seattle is number two.
Oh, Seattle. And then, of course, and then we have to have Portland is probably up there as well.
And then number three is not Portland.
What is number three?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta? Really?
There you have it.
Wow. Anyway, so just be prepared because this is the next, unless something else happens in the meantime. But this is their thing.
These people are. This is a disgusting. This administration with all this cheap tactics to ruin the American desire to actually be fair is really getting on my nerves. And Carney is a horrible, horrible person.
Yeah. He also doesn't look like he had a lot of fun doing that video, and it was like last spur of the moment.
He's always being asked so many questions. I had to do a video. I've never heard one of these questions.
I know. All
right, well.
Hey, John, first of all, thank you for your courage. And in the morning.
Oh, you want to go in the morning? We have very little to talk about in the morning, but I'll say in the morning to you, Adam Curran. In the morning to all ships at sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and the dames and knights out there, and including our executive producers for show 563.
And I would also like to thank our, of course, human resources in the chat room, noagendachat.com today on the stream, and our artist, Patrick Buys. Thank you for the artwork on episode 562. Always fun to see what people have submitted at noagendaartgenerator.com. And yeah, it's, we were kind of expecting this to happen after the big 6th anniversary extravaganza. I didn't quite expect it to go this fast, but yeah, we're a short list. And, of course, we have our executive producers, associate executive producers, and we always love to see our knights and dames and barons and dukes who come in. And so we have, I think, Sir Robert Alter.
Yeah, we have one executive producer, Sir Robert Alter, who was weird. He comes in with 3/1661, but it really came in with 333, and I don't know why that number got there like that, because he does have a note, unless this was from last time. I've been working on, which I don't recall. I would have remembered if Alter was doing this. But he says he's been working in Paris for the last few months and needs karma to make whatever project he's running on, make this project end smoothly.
Ooh, some end game karma then. All right, let's hand that out.
The good work, he says.
Yeah, of course.
You've got karma.
Thank you for producing the show. Showrunner. Hey, that's a new title we should have, Showrunner.
Showrunner. Show you do $100 and up. Showrunner. We can read their notes.
Yeah, showrunners.
William Owens, 23333, the associate executive producer from Jacksonville, North Carolina. I sent a longish email. Okay, well, did you get that? If not,
from William.
I'll look it up. Since we got time on our hands to look this stuff up.
You want to look.
The problem we have with a few of these guys, by the way, is that they don't put their names in the email per se.
Yeah.
It's like something like PayPal@gmail.com or something.
It's kind of hard to match it up sometimes.
Let me just see what we got here. We probably have it. Here it is.
Oh, that was quick.
Oops. He had two notes. The first one is a toxic dump. I'm donating now instead of the anniversary show because I figured I'd average out nicer in the long run and I'd help out with a light day. Hey!
That's right on. You got it, man. Thank you.
I'd like to share the Italian government's idea of transparency. I've been stationed here in Italy. He's in Italy.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah.
In the armed forces.
Yes.
Or they wouldn't use the word stationed. Or wait a minute.
Onward.
It could be stationed as something else. I'd always heard about, and Italy is a target area, I've always heard about the trash which abounds some of the neighborhoods and highways as a result of the Camorra mafia, but came here despite it, and since I've even extended, he's going to be there longer, I'm able to see through this and truly appreciate the beautiful, ancient, and unique city I live in, blah, blah, blah. But there's
forget all the nice stuff he says about nice blah blah blah. Italian landscape. Nice, whatever
on the sites. But the food. It's dioxin in the buffalo's milk, which used to make the super tasty mozzarella, which is used to make caprese. Seems I shouldn't have been eating it. Just stay with the GMOs in the commissary. The 1999 higher-ups in the mafia had a guilty conscience. 1997. In 1990. Sorry. In 1997, a higher-up in the mafia had a guilty conscience over improper disposal of nuclear sludge and toxic wastes, which he seemed to have confessed to off the record while being arraigned for something else. In the interest of transparency, the lower house of the Italian parliament has elected to make the documents public 16 years later. There's some info on ye old web. I've included some links, so we have to look into that.
Okay.
On site has my area listed as one of the many that's affected. With this, I'd like to ask for a shot of karma at the risk of cheapening it, a preemptive fuck cancer. And finally, an Italian shut-up slave for all us citizens in jeopardy.
Okay, hold on a second.
Oh, yeah, Matt, it's official. If you're hearing this, you're a douchebag.
Hold on. Douchebag. Matt is the douchebag.
Great shows.
And, okay, I know exactly.
I'll forward you this so you can look at these numbers.
Yeah, I'd love to look at that. Here we go. Let's, I'll do it this way.
Shut up, slave. Stai zitto, schiavo.
You've got karma.
There you go. Preemptive. Well, you are stage 0 cancer regardless, so that's not bad.
You're stage 0.
Stage 0. You're precancerous, my friend. Trust me. You are precancerous.
Well, so much for the good cheese. Brian House is our second associate executive producer and last one. And he's in Bateau Bay in New South Wales, Australia.
Hello, Australia.
Hi there, John and Adam. It's time for a top-up donation to keep you two buoyant.
Afloat.
Give me a please don't eat me, Hillary Clinton. 2 up top. It's almost too delicious combo if you could. Please send me. He wants the information for the Schiphol.
Yeah, for the Wi-Fi. Email me directly. We don't give that out on the air. Although you could probably figure it out. But yeah, I'm happy.
No, you can't.
No, he can't. He says yes.
Eat me, Hillary Clinton.
It's almost too delicious to believe, my friend.
Got karma.
There you go.
But that's a different "Don't Eat Me, Hillary Clinton."
Is it?
Yeah.
Really? Didn't sound. Is it? I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know. I just grabbed whatever.
Don't eat me, Hillary Clinton.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. That's not the right one. Hey, hold on a second. Who? Didn't we have this just the other day that we "Don't Eat Me, Hillary Clinton"? That's Lizzie. Is that the wrong one?
Well, that's not the good one.
Eat me, Hillary
There
Clinton.
it is. All right.
That's the good one.
It's the good
Much
eating
cuter.
clip.
She sounds more like someone who's about to be eaten by Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Big ogres coming at her.
We'll thank the rest of our short list later in our donation segment. We really need some help here. No Agenda works on your support. And that's why we have executive producers, associate executive producers. They understand the game, but we just need more support. We just need more of it. And the place to go and find out about that is
Dvorak.org/NA.
And regardless, we always need some help propagating our formula, which is fairly simple.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
Woot.
So I was watching Sweeps Weeks.
Yes. It's Sweeps.
So that's why you would have Nightline, a show that is just crap. It's turned into pure garbage ever since they changed the formula to a bunch of crappy, actually very longish feature stories that aren't interesting.
Does Ted Koppel still host that?
No. Ted Koppel? Jeez.
That's how long it's been since I've watched Nightline. I haven't watched Nightline in a long time. So is Ted still around?
Yeah, he's retired.
Oh, okay.
And he shows up once in a while. He's a huge fan of he's like a complete progressive liberal nut.
Oh, he does special
he's
reports,
almost off
right?
the deep end with it. And he's a fan of some people that are like, why is he a fan of this guy?
Right.
And I can't think of it now. But so they had a porn special. Wait,
it's Sweeps Week. Yes, of course. So a news program.
We used to talk a joke about this at PC Magazine years ago when if you wanted to up your numbers for your readership because everything's monitored like Max Headroom, you just put porn in the title and you double your numbers. But nowadays it's Macintosh. You double your numbers if you use Mac. So I'm thinking the porn on the Macintosh would be a huge winner for anybody out there who wants to make a name for themselves. So I got a bunch of. You're gonna have to deal with 5 clips or maybe.
Well,
6.
if it's that good,
it is. It's pretty. It's more fun. It's not good. It's funny, but because there's a couple of moments in here that are like okay. It's a little lewd. The show's a little lewd. But let's start with Porn 1, the false premise.
According to one study, 7 out of 10 teens have accidentally stumbled across porn online. But experts are asking, is the average teen really ready for this?
Do I get to interrupt, or do I just keep the whole thing?
You can interrupt all you want because it's pretty. This is
First,
about.
It's not 7 out of 10. It's 10 out of 10 teens have seen porn. What is that?
That's probably true.
What is that?
But they don't want to scare the public. They don't want to alarm everybody. But this is by the way, it's just not a porn special. It's about porn and teens.
Oh, yes, of course.
A hardcore porn video, just right on my phone for anybody to access.
We've always suspected that porn can't be good for the teenage brain. But tonight, a new study. Is there now scientific evidence to back that up?
When he puts porn into Google, what does he think he's going to come up with? Probably pictures of breasts, maybe a naked woman. In reality, he is catapulted into a world of sexual violence.
Gail Dines, the author of a book called Pornland, says for the average teenage boy, porn is his first formative impression of sex.
He's not got a...
Yeah, okay. Yeah, when we had magazines, that was my first formative impression of sex. It just wasn't online. It was magazines. We buried them in the woods, and they were all damp and stuff. Remember that, John?
You know, I'm older than you.
Oh, you didn't have
so
porn
my
mags?
First encounter with porn, as it were, were cheap black and white photos that some pervert would be carrying around in his pocket on the factory floor.
Wait a minute. How old were you?
I was old enough to know better.
But you were on the factory.
I was always working.
Are you from the industrial?
Alien, alien talk to everybody.
Wait a minute. You're in the Industrial Revolution. You're working as a 7-year-old and like on the factory floor. And like
but when I was in high school, I could be 14. I had a job. I was always working. I had a paper route when I was a kid, and then I always had a summer job. Always had a summer job because I needed money.
Right.
So I was working all the time, and so you're on I worked at a lot of factories, sheet metal shops, and this.
Yeah. And there was a dude walking around who had like black and white pictures. Hey, what is he?
You can't find a job today. Back then, it was like falling off a log.
Right.
So you're on the factory floor, and there's some guy. Hey, kid,
want to see some pictures? Really?
You want to see some pictures? And they have these pictures.
But wait, was he selling something, or was he just
no? He's just showing pictures. Then he showed to somebody else. He was the guy with the porn.
Okay, the porn guy.
He's the porn guy. Now I also saw some pictures again, photos. Not magazines. It wasn't institutionalized like it got later. Apparently with you. So there were complete magazines, but no, these were just the hand-me-downs. And you'd look at them and you go, ugh. I think the first time I saw the photos...
Wait a minute, you went, ugh?
Well, the first time I was 12 years old, and that's what I did almost do. I think I may have gone, ugh. And
I remember, because back in those days, even the 70s, when I was coming of age, porn was not, it's not like it is today. There were kind of sexy Rubenesque women with huge, just massive amounts of hair. Remember those days?
No.
Okay. All right. Calm down. He doesn't remember.
So there's stuff left on this clip, right?
Yeah. Lots left.
Reservoir of his own experience of sexuality with other people. He's probably never had sex with another human being.
And it's not just boys. Winifred Bonjean Alpart was only 12 years old when she shockingly admitted she'd not only seen porn, she says she understood all the innuendo.
We're getting messages from everywhere that are saying if you dress this way, you are going to be either treated well or you're going to feel powerful. Sex is
okay,
power.
Stop right.
Winifred
stop.
is...
Oh, interesting. Okay, this is the war on men. War on men.
I want you to... there's a little war on men action, but I want you to listen to this girl because she does an analysis, if I'm not mistaken, at the very end of her clip. And I want you to listen. In advance, I want to tell you what it's going to be about. This is the newest version of the me generation, the selfie generation.
Yeah.
Nothing in the world has ever happened before until they came along. And they're new. And play it out. Just play it out, and you'll see what if this doesn't gall you, I'll be surprised.
Part of this new order of teens brought up in an era where explicit images can be found just about anywhere.
We're like the first generation to have what we have. So there's no one before us that can kind of guide us. I mean, we are the pioneers.
And these images can be traumatic.
You are the pioneers?
Yeah, this is the selfie generation.
We're the pioneers. Hey, chive.com, moron.
We're the pioneers. Ooh, we're the pioneers. Now, more likely, you have this other clip I thought was the funniest clip. This is the little girl shocked clip. This is part 2. And this is a girl who's still 12. I guess she's just a little kid. She's a cute little 12-year-old that is described. Apparently, I think there's something illegal about this special, by the way, with bringing this girl on. But it is actually quite humorous in some odd way, at least to me.
Her friend Danielle first learned about sex on a porn site.
It was this one black guy, one Hispanic guy, and this one very blonde woman. And they were just like ferociously banging each other. It was very... I mean, I came home, I was bawling my eyes out. I'll never forget it.
Okay. That was really, really sick. All right.
That was sick.
Now, let me ask you a question. My parents taught me about sex before I was 6. And it was all kind of clinical, but it wasn't like hoo how schlicken locken. It was a penis, vagina. Ooh, we use the real words, how it works. And there was even like, it will feel good. I remember that. And of course, then we moved to Europe, and then it was all like, you know, where there were naked women walking around on TV at 7 o'clock at night. But it was like, yeah, but this is, the kids aren't supposed to learn about sex until they're 12? That's too young? Am I understanding this correct?
That's just what it seems to be.
That makes no sense.
No, it makes no sense. And I like that. Anyway, there's something funny about that clip. So we'll go to part 3. Now, it turns out that a lot of this has to do with addiction.
Of course, yes.
Because, this doesn't have a bunch of drug commercials surrounding it. But, we're about 2 inches. Most of these news shows nowadays are very heavily financed by drug companies. Yeah. We might as well just get that out of the way.
Yeah.
So this one not necessarily, but play part 3. And
it's not surprising that these images often color teens' ideas of what sex should be like.
It's not as good as masturbating.
Calum is a young man living in England with a long time...
I'm sorry, I just got to stop it right there. What is sex supposed to look like? I mean, is there some official guide that...
Well, Caleb, this British bullcrapper comes on. There's a lot of Brits in this report, by the way. They're preoccupied with this. I think this report is actually a rehash of something done someplace else.
Yeah, okay. They probably purchased it and redid packages. Okay,
it's repackaged.
One of our Gitmo East producers will let us know. I'm sure. I think
this
you're right.
Caleb guy who says it's not as good as masturbating is apparently just a classic wanker, British wanker. He's just jerking off left and right constantly, and now the show starts to border on getting just out and out hilarious.
Compulsion. He spoke with English journalist Martin Dobney, saying that he's had sex with women, and it just doesn't compare.
It's not as good because they're not as good as the porn. Obviously, the porn girls have done it a lot more confident.
And with pornography so ever present, some teens become addicted to it, sometimes at heartbreakingly young ages.
So 12 to 13, all the way up to probably 14, it was kind of there, uninterrupted. I became almost numb to it. It became such a part of my pretty much daily routine.
Nathan, a teen in Utah, eventually admitted what was going on to his parents and was ultimately able to quit. But for others, it's not that easy.
I started to isolate myself. Because I hated what I was doing. I hated that I couldn't stop.
Brienne is now 23, but remembers just how strong her addiction was during all of her high school years.
I would say that this is something that was not just me. I knew tons of students who were in my grade, my peers, who were struggling with the same thing.
Hold on a second, John. Is she saying she was addicted to masturbation or addicted to porn or both? Because that's a little unclear to me.
This is an interesting part of the study, or this story. It seems to be there's a crossover point with the masturbation and the porn, and they're hinting about the masturbation. In part 4, the kid that we go back to Caleb, and actually, why don't you just skip to part 4 and you'll get...
5, you mean? 5.
No, it's 4.
No.
You're playing 3.
Oh, 4. Yes, okay, I got it. 4. Yep, got it. Okay.
Now you pay careful attention to this part because this is the funniest clip that I have in the group.
Dobney spent a day with him to see the problem firsthand.
Why do you think you've got this relationship with porn?
Don't know. I really don't know. I just think... that's just something that my brain must have picked up. I can't find a way to stop. I've tried getting rid of my smartphone there and think to yourself, why have I just done what I've done?
And how do you get over that low?
Do it again.
Dobney gets a glimpse of Calum's hard-fought struggle when they drive past a pretty girl, and it immediately triggers a reaction.
Where are you off to?
Just gonna go to the toilet quickly.
There he goes. Really? Better?
Yeah.
I feel much better.
So, be honest, crack one out.
Yeah.
Oh, John, this is now it's just insulting. This is just insulting. Yeah, I had to rub one out.
So here's what. Let me just
John,
try to summarize.
Can I just stop you for 1 second? Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'll be right back.
Oh, there he goes. There he goes. Hey.
Okay. Yeah.
How you feel? Do you feel better?
Yeah, much better. Thank you.
Well, actually, if you play the rest of this clip, the guy doesn't feel better. You might as well get to that, and then I'll tell you it's kind of funny.
Well, that clip ended, so this would be clip...
Oh, didn't he, where he says, I feel disgusted? Did you get that part?
Didn't hear it. Maybe I talked over it.
Yeah, maybe.
But
whatever the case was, the kid was unsatisfied. But well, let me get this straight. So he's driving around with this supposed porn addict, and they drive past a pretty girl,
and he has to immediately go jerk off.
He has to. He says, "Stop the car! Stop the car!" And he has to rush to some bathroom, anonymous bathroom. I don't know where. I guess they're in some place where there's a lot of bathrooms. And he goes and jerks off because he saw this girl. And then he comes back and he's disgusted with himself. He says, I hate that. I hate that. What has this got to do with porn or anything else? This is bull crap.
Yeah. It's well, I think it's obvious. It's sweeps week and sex sells. Duh.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much it. If you want to play us out, you can play the fifth part. And there's something about the study, the great phony study.
Because it's just like, for that split second, I just feel like it's the best thing to do. And then as soon as I've finished, it's like, why the did I just do that?
Well, that sounds like a drug addiction to me.
Yeah, it is, virtually. Because I can't stop it.
But is Calum's internet porn compulsion the same thing as a true clinical addiction? Does it actually change a person's brain?
Yes.
Dr. Valerie Voon, a neuropsychiatrist and global authority on addiction working at Cambridge University, decided to find out.
I wasn't sure what to expect when I first started this study, to be perfectly frank. And in part because we just know so little about it.
In these images, you can actually see the pleasure centers of an addict's brain responding to their drug of choice. Would scans of young people with a porn compulsion show the same results? Voon found 20 young men between 19 and 34 whose lives were so controlled by porn that they were willing to be a part of the study. They didn't want to be identified, but they were willing to be scanned and compared to a control group of volunteers. The subjects were shown images of explicit porn to see if their reward centers would respond in the same way as drug users.
Yeah.
When the data was analyzed, the results were astounding.
You see there's a very clear increase in activity in the reward center.
The compulsive users' reactions were twice as active as those in the control group in the pleasure center known as the striatum, matching the responses of drug and alcohol addicts.
Compulsive pornography users do have parallels with substance use disorders.
All right, this is very annoying because, of course, I mean, you'll get the same MRI scans from people, getting a ding that their Facebook is updated or their Twitter or something. It's, yes, of course, people, these kids, they got nothing better to do. You got to give them something to do.
That is actually the real problem here.
Yeah, they got too much time on their hands.
There's no manufacturing. It's all been shipped to Asia.
Yeah,
these kids have got nothing better to do than jerk off.
That's where the term jerk off comes from. The guy's a jerk off because what does he do? Doing nothing.
Or wanker means the same thing in England, and that's what these.
This
guys
is actually,
wankers.
but this. Insanity about these studies is resulting in some crazy stuff. We are doing such harm to our children. And by the way, I know people who listen to the show, they just, I know that you're taking this in and you're living your life differently, which is probably why you come back and listen to this podcast. This is in Scandinavia, once again, a new rule at an elementary school.
When the sun comes out, so do the kids at Coghlan Fundamental Elementary School in Langley. But the youngest ones have a new rule to follow.
They have now banned hands-on play with children in kindergarten.
Hands-on play.
No tag, no hugging, no touching at all.
The no touching policy outlined in a letter sent home with kindergarten students on Friday.
I was shocked because I just can't imagine little kids not being able to hug each other or help each other in the playground.
The letter says kids have been hurting each other on the playground, so the school had to step in.
They asked the parents to just tell their kids to not touch anymore at school.
The letter says the school will have a zero tolerance policy when it comes to the new no touching rule. Kids who break it will miss playtime or be sent to the office.
Playtime? Yes. Apparently there isn't any.
Despite all of this, I really have high hopes for the future. I really do. I am. I'm really quite positive because we are evolving, and these kids, they're going to see through this. If U.S. parents, I know there are a lot of parents listening,
hugging in the bathrooms.
Yeah. it's, these kids are growing up. They are star children. They're smart. They're going to see through this bull crap. Disconnect your cable is a good start. Really, really get rid of a lot of this television, because it truly is not healthy, and it is all. I got a clip here.
Well, let me, before you're done with that, let's stay with this topic for 1 second, because I do have the Sun article, local paper in Langley, BC, and you
Googled that quickly.
I used to write for this paper years ago.
Really?
Parents apparently have backed this. They've backed it. They say this is great. We don't want the kids touching.
Really?
So this sounds like bull crap, but it's possible.
Yeah.
Apparently, the real problem was the kids had this. They like to link. As you've seen kids do this, they form a circle. They all grab each other.
Yeah.
In a circle, and then they start spinning around in a circle, and then apparently a couple of the kids couldn't keep up, and they were being dragged along by the big group, and this is a big fiasco.
I was the kid. We're not allowed to do dodgeball. I was the guy who always got the dodgeball to the face. That was me. Always. And then we had this in Holland.
Duck.
No,
learn to duck
at gym, because we had gym class. Do they still do gym, or is that too dangerous?
It's too dangerous.
We had these wooden bricks. So there was literally had rounded corners, so it wasn't sharp, and it was glazed. But we used these bricks, they would set them up to do slaloms or stuff like that for gym class. And these, of course, would be outlawed now. And we used to have them for dodgeball in the gym, in the auditorium. And you'd put the brick in front of you. And so, it was not just, it was not throwing you off, but someone had to throw your brick. And I swear to God, they throw that and the brick would bounce up, hit me in the face. I was that guy.
Huh. Well, you don't look the worse for wear, but your nose is kind of swollen.
But I am doing a podcast. So there's that. All right.
And you have a story. That was an anecdote nobody really cared about, but at least it was something.
I'm sorry. It wasn't as good as working on the factory floor with the guy who was showing you the porn.
No, as a matter of fact, it wasn't.
All right, I'll make up for it now. Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Have you seen this?
I should ban you from talking about her, but I can't because she's too important.
Because she
was on the Bill Maher show.
No, that's not what this is from. She was being interviewed, and of course, it was about the Obamacare, and about this is, for those who don't know, it's like the president said, you won't lose your plan, whatever. So half is saying he lied, he didn't lie, he misled, whatever. So now this is a professional, and this shows you how television works in America. It's very, very important, because you think that she's just responding to questions, but she's not. She's reading from a script. She's on remote. She's not in the studio with the interviewer. But she clearly either has a prompter. I think she has a prompter because I see her looking straight ahead. I don't see her looking down at anything. And she misreads. She does the whopper of all misreads on this prompter that proves how fake this interview is.
Did the president, Congresswoman, knowingly oversimplify this and provide an opening, frankly, for opponents of the ACA?
Marco Rubio has exactly zero credibility when it comes to whether or not Americans should have access to quality, affordable health care and whether or not Obamacare gets implemented. So I think most people just discount what he says because he's done everything he can to try to slow it down or stop it. At the end of the day, Americans were not only not misled by the president, the overwhelming majority of Americans are already insured.
Americans were not misled. She misled, and pronounced it misled.
Yeah, you don't say that in your brain. You say that from reading.
And you can hear
she's reading something. Yeah. It said misled, and she said misled.
And if we go back,
not. I thought the prompter had stopped.
The prompter had stopped, exactly. You can hear the prompter has a malfunction. I'll play that last bit again.
Yeah, you got to play that again.
The prompter has a malfunction.
Actually, keep that as an evergreen, that whole thing. Not the whole thing, that little part where she says not
misled.
Misled.
At the end of the day, Americans were not only not misled by the president, the overwhelming majority of Americans are already insured.
Misled.
That's Al Sharpton. Sharpton-esque.
And because normally she does this very well, but this was I think of epic proportions. Misled. misled everybody.
Yeah, well, I don't think much of her.
No, but
so
it's not about her.
Prompter read. So we got George Stephanopoulos taking over for Diane Sawyer.
Oh, where's Diane?
She was, I think she's recovering. I don't know. No idea. But the way he sounds.
Hold on a second. I'm going to play her jingle just for her sake. The other ABC woman's in rehab, I read.
So we have Stephanopoulos, who is fairly good at ad-libbing, but I don't believe he's very good at prompter reading, and I don't think he does a lot of it. Even though on the Good Morning America show you'd think he does. But this is such a poor read that it makes it sound as if Diane Sawyer's not there because she's helping the president or something. It's just totally confusing. He punches up the wrong words. It makes the whole thing confusing. And I just said, what is this guy even saying?
This is ABC World News with Diane Sawyer. Reporting tonight, George Stephanopoulos.
Good evening. Diane is off tonight after a day of double trouble for the White House, scrambling to defuse not one but two firestorms. The president accused of making false promises, even lying about Obamacare. That was on one side of Capitol Hill. On the other, that spy scandal intensified, with new calls for a total stop to spying on friends. So what did the president know? How much damage has been done? And what will he do now? ABC's chief White House correspondent Jonathan Karl starts us off.
He's not even trying.
No, he's walking through it, but if you notice the beginning, it sounds like Diane Sawyer's gone to the White House.
Gone to the White House. Yeah, it did sound like that.
To clean things up.
Yeah. Someone forgot.
Now, there was I have a second clip I want to get rid of because this clip reminded me of you.
Oh.
This is the clip.
Everybody, it's Freddie the Fireball. If you plug your ports, John.
This is Stephanopoulos.
Want to see some pictures?
One of the correspondents, who I believe is a surfer.
Oh.
And the voice this guy does, which is borderline puker, but it's not. It's a surfer voice, and it's the kind of voice that you've been able to do over time. It's kind of the enthusiastic announcer surfer guy. And it's like, why is this guy a news reporter? It sounds like he's giving the weather report for the waves at Huntington Beach.
Okay, so I have not heard the clip. What is the report? And I'll see if I can emulate it before we go into it. What is the report about?
I don't remember, to be honest. It's just idiotic.
Oh.
Under fire for allegedly spying on Americans and America's friends, the nation's spy chief made no apologies.
We do not spy on anyone except for valid foreign intelligence purposes, and we only work within the law.
ABC News has confirmed reports U.S. intelligence has listened in on the phone conversations of the leaders of 35 American allies.
Hey, it's really cool. He's listening in on the 35 American allies. Yeah, everybody.
Reports that today drew sharp criticism from top members of Congress in both parties.
The reports are very disturbing. Friends don't spy on friends.
Yeah, they do. They do. Did you see Schmidt on this?
Oh, Schmidt was great.
Eric Schmidt?
Yeah.
Did you?
I don't have a clip of it.
I got a clip because he says something really important that I've heard a couple times now, and it wasn't until I heard it out of his mouth that I knew that this was a coordinated meme.
It's really outrageous.
It's really outrageous.
That the National Security Agency was looking between the Google data centers, if that's true. The steps that the organization was willing to do without good judgment, right, to pursue its mission and potentially violate people's privacy is not okay. It's just not okay. So in that sense, the Snowden revelations have assisted us in understanding that. It's perfectly possible that there are more revelations to come.
Ah, this is the ongoing meme. More revelations to come. And now, why does he say it's perfectly possible? Why even throw that out there? That it was like a non sequitur line.
That's a great catch. You almost clip of the day with that one.
So a couple of things.
Because it's an out-of-the-blue comment.
Mm-hmm.
It's essentially, from our perspective, as the TV production company, it is a teaser.
Exactly.
Now, why is he teasing the revelations to come? Well, he knows that something's bad's going to be pointed at Google.
And there's been some, yes.
And he just wants to set it up to soften the blow. Well, we knew something like this. We mentioned it before.
And there's some interesting moves taking place. So Sarah Harrison, who is Julian Assange's girlfriend, who has been with Snowden for the past couple of months in Russia.
Yeah, did you see her sitting at the table? Did you see that table shot? There was a table shot. It was a TV thing. They never had. There's no audio.
Oh yeah, that's at the awards ceremony. Yeah. The whistleblower awards, is that one?
No, was that what it was? Because it looked like they were in some crappy little hellhole.
Yeah, that's the award ceremony where Snowden got like a candlestick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, she's sitting right there by his side, literally.
Oh yeah. Well, no,
he's at the head of the table. She's at the one that's right.
But she's now in Germany. So this is very interesting what's happening. She also released a statement. Now remember, she's now, I think she's probably looking for an apartment for her and Edward to shack up in. And I'm sure Julian is really pissed about all this.
Oh, yeah.
So she is now in Germany. So in Germany, we also have Laura Poitras. We have Applebaum, Jacob Applebaum, who was, just did a speech at the CCS 2013 in Berlin. Which charged like €200 or something for people to go see him. I guess his lifestyle is expensive. Sponsors at this speech: Bosch, SAP, National Institutes of Health, Army Research Office, National Science Foundation, Cisco, Intel. Come on, man, this guy is so compromised. But okay, can't say that. And she released a statement, long statement. But there's some pertinent pieces, and the meme that she propagates is the effective exile meme. She's saying that Poitras and Applebaum and herself are now in effective exile from their home. Now she's from the UK, but effective exile from their hometown countries because they're because of the spying, which is bullcrap.
It's total bullcrap.
And even worse, IO Error on Twitter. Applebaum, IO Error, on, let's see, I have a tweet here from him, March, 30th of March. Successful indication my birthday diving trip is off to a good start. Subsurface in Hawaii. So he's just flying back and forth. He's not in exile, but this is the thing, we're in effective exile. These people are not to be trusted. I hate to say it, but this stinks.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it does stink, and I think that what's going on with Almadar and the
media, and
that thing with Greenwald and Scahill, Jeremy Scahill, who might as well be in effective exile, even though he's probably in New York City. This whole thing is it's not. It's not kosher.
Well, we're all being played one way or the other.
We're being played.
Yeah, we're being played.
We don't know exactly. The point of it is so they can make money. That's the point of it. I mean, come on. What else is there?
Exactly. It's to make money. It's for the it's not even cyber wars now. It's just cyber. Just say cyber. This limo company was hacked. Did you hear about this? The company that does booking and payment processing for tons of limo firms. For politicians and celebrities.
Nice.
I guarantee you this is what some of the revelations are about. So the name of this company is Corporate Car Online. And not only were credit cards and other financial information data stolen on millions of customers, but also, and this is what's cool, who was smoking weed in the car, because they feed it back, right? You have to have a profile of your customer. Who puked in the car, who was having sex in the car. And this is gold right here, baby. This is gold.
Gold, Jerry.
Gold, I tell you. So this is, God, Ted was so right. They were so screwed with all this stuff. It's just hilarious. Just hilarious.
Well, it's all part of the dossier system that we've established, Stasi style, in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everyone seems to be putting up with it fine. What was wrong with those East German people anyway that they couldn't deal with it? We're doing just fine with the same system.
We're doing very well.
What a bunch of wimps.
Hey, big movie promotion on the way. And I don't know if I talked with you about this months ago. I mean, I'm talking not even months. I heard about this when we were exiled ourselves. So that was December of last year. I knew that this was coming down the pike, and And here it is.
Now, it's been described as one of the largest recoveries of looted art. A collection of more than 1,000 paintings, which includes the works of Picasso and Matisse, has been found in the German city of Munich. The haul is believed to have been confiscated by the Nazis in the 1930s and 40s. According to the German magazine Focus, the paintings were found by tax inspectors who raided the property of a reclusive son of an art dealer 2 years ago.
So the key there is 2 years ago. This happened, they discovered this 2 years ago. And there's a lot more discoveries you're going to see in the next 4 weeks. Tons of, oh, look, we found this stolen piece of Nazi art, or Jewish art, Jewish-owned art, Jewish-created art. The Nazis stole it. And why?
You've got something going on and you need a distraction. Call Clooney. Call Clooney.
That's right. Coming out in December, the Christmas hit will be George Clooney's Monument Men, where they go and find stolen art stolen by the Nazis. Great, 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 great movie promotion. Everyone's all in. They have no shame on this. 2 years ago, this
5 years ago, we reported, yeah.
And I heard about this because I know some people who are actually working with Clooney on this, and it's I can just say it's some military sources in Europe it is part of their job to actually find this stuff. It's a long, complicated system, but it's part of it. And they have been working with Clooney directly for over a year. So we have more to come, guaranteed. And it would be really cool if my source would just tell me, like, just one day before, so we could just throw it out there, so we could really prove it.
Yeah, tomorrow will be the report on this and that.
It might happen.
Yeah, I thought that story was a little sketchy. I didn't associate with the Clooney movie, but it's obvious what it is.
Yeah,
draw people's attention to the first thing I heard the story was like, wow, that's interesting. Thinking it was a recent story.
Yeah,
because that's the way they presented it in the teasers.
Yeah.
Thinking, I wonder how much art there is in guys' basements around Europe. We can all be rich because any Picasso's worth, millions. And, Matisse is worth millions, like lots of millions.
Yeah.
And it'd be a nice little thing to have access to, but
well, I just find
it's probably not even stolen Nazi art. It's probably just some guy's collection.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Oh yeah. Well, a lot of people have bought these. A lot of them were sold. Legitimately sold, and people wound up with them. But the fact that the BBC is touting this as some huge revelation 2 years after the fact is just to promote the movie. I'm pretty sure Clooney agreed to do Nightline or something, or whatever, Nightly News or whatever they have over there at the BBC.
Yeah, and he'll discuss this as a real problem. Do you remember my favorite event along these lines, even though I was just a little bit before we started doing this show? There was a movie called Mothman, about this mystical beast that would show up in North Carolina and elsewhere, and then all sort of hell would break loose around the area. And there was show after show after show of experts discussing the real Mothman, this mythical beast that would be showing up. It's like that dog or something that's in South America. And it was all to promote this movie. And then once the movie came out and died, there was never mention of this Mothman
over. Well,
ever again.
It's funny. Miss Mickey, she's my canary in the coal mine for the National Treasure. And she said that on NPR there was something about there's a new rating system for movies, and it's because of course we have the violence, nudity, appropriate for whatever ages, but this is done how women are portrayed, if it's if they're portrayed in a sexist light, more war on dude stuff obviously. And I said, what's really sad is because the way Hollywood works in conjunction, and the ownership structure, quite honestly, Disney owns ABC, and all like big conglomerates, they own everything. So we don't have movie reviewers anymore. They're all dead. Remember, you had a guy like, you could trust him, Siskel and Ebert. Like, this is a great movie. Nowadays, we have movie reviewers, but it's all, this is great. No one says this sucks balls. You just don't hear it anymore. There's no honesty. Zero.
The good movie reviewers are gone. This is true. And the ones that are on, and then you have to combine that with the entertainment shows, Entertainment Tonight, The Extra, and all the rest, which are part of the promotion system. They are paid to promote. They're not paid to condemn. And so they promote stuff, and then you have these segments, these entertainment segments that are on all the networks, works with some guy or other, and then they'll have what gets me is these fake interviews.
Oh, yeah.
You got Brad Pitt sitting in a chair answering questions,
right,
and then they cut back and forth to the interviewer, who you never see with Brad Pitt, ever.
You might see a top shot where they were just sitting there for a second or something.
Maybe. Generally speaking, you have Brad Pitt and the guy in the other chair, and if they're in the same room, which can happen, I'm sure, once in a while. Yeah. Generally speaking, they're not in the same room, and the interview is essentially a setup. Canned. It's not as bad as it was in the radio days we've talked about before,
but
where you had the big record with the answers, but it's pretty close.
I got to take you there for a second, John, just before we do our break, which will be short today.
To the gate, to the gate, to the climate gate.
Two clips. I have a longer clip, but I think it'll be worth it. The first one is from the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah.
Okay. What is that? Is that a group? Is that they do a podcast?
Let's take a look. I think so.
Yeah, I think they do publications.
We'll bring it up to us every so often.
Yeah. So I got a little clip of two of those guys, the doctors, talking about how you just need to shut up when it comes to science. Certainly when
your escape to reality.
It's also just the baseline respect for science. I know that I don't understand the data. I know that I can't interpret it myself, or if I were to do it myself, there's time I'm not willing to commit to do it. I respect the meteorologists around the globe, and I respect their education, and that they're going to make a much better decision, analysis, conclusion, everything better than I would ever do it.
Yeah, it's complicated. You have to have a healthy respect for how complicated this science is. And unless you understand it at an expert level, it really is folly to try to substitute your own understanding for the consensus of scientific opinion. But that's what people do.
Shut up, slave!
The consensus of scientific opinion.
Why don't they shut up? They don't understand it. This makes no sense. By the way, if anybody out there, go track down the meteorologist who was the founder of the Weather Channel, and he's got a 4-part YouTube
series,
video
about how
and listen to him. Is he full of crap too? I mean, is he full of crap, or is he not full of crap? I mean, everybody who's on that side of the argument gets shunted aside as being skeptics or whatever, and meanwhile, everybody else is lockstep into the scam. This cap and trade scam that is trying to be to make some money for some people.
So here is the clip. You've led me right into it. Tonight on CNN, and we knew this would happen eventually because it was a CNN production, Pandora's Promise will air on CNN. Not in Europe, by the way, only in the United States of Gitmo. This is the documentary that I went to see. Miss Mickey and I were the only two people in the entire theater. Remember, it came out the same night as Bling Ring? And it's very, very poorly done. And the concept is there's these established greenies who go on this journey, and they come to not only appreciate, but become promoters of nuclear as an alternative to fossil fuel, but also really as an alternative to solar and to wind. So I think the director, Robert Stone, was on with Brolf, and of course you need a counterpoint, and they brought in Van Johnson. And this guy, this is the perfect classic example of shouting down, saying it's dumb, nuclear, and because we know that nuclear is not people don't want it because they're afraid of it. They've been frightened to death by Fukushima, frightened to death by 3 Mile Island, by Chernobyl. The numbers have been inflated tremendously, and some of that is in this documentary, which is why it's worth watching. There's all kinds of half truths, but really the science being in and shut up slave coming out of Van Johnson was so despicable in this case, and he brings in the whole cap and trade, why we should not go with nuclear. And if you will indulge, if you want to stop, let me know. But I think it's I just clipped a bit of it, but it's a couple minutes. Pretty interesting exchange between the director of this movie, who is an environmentalist, and Van Johnson.
Robert, the film's point of view is from an environmentalist who defected, from a bunch of environmentalists, I should say, who defected, as if you will, now support using nuclear power. So here's the question: what changed their minds?
Well, it's changed my mind as well. I've been an environmentalist my whole life. But it's 25 years of epic failure on the part of the environmental movement to do anything to combat climate change. And I think it's the old definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And I think, frankly, the environmental movement is guilty of that. So it's incumbent upon all of us to put everything on the table, all clean energy sources, and see what works. And nuclear power produces prodigious amounts of electrical energy with no pollution, no CO2. And the more we looked at it, the more we realized that almost everything we thought we knew about it was wrong.
And before we finish the clip, a reminder that John and I, we've talked about the new reactors, the new technology, the breeder reactors, the thorium reactors, all this stuff, no nuclear waste. There's tons of development since all these older systems have been in place.
What about that, Van? Because you're an environmentalist. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think it's a fascinating film. In some ways, what's weird is that the environmental movement is somehow being held up as the obstacle.
Yes.
To nuclear power going forward. It's not. Don't blame us. People don't want the stuff in their backyard. I don't think anybody in our viewership would say, "Hey, please put a nuclear power plant in my backyard."
Yeah, hello. I'd like one. John, would you like a nuclear power plant in your backyard?
Yeah, one of those little ones that will power the house the next 140 years at no cost.
Yeah, I'll take one of those.
Please dump the waste in my backyard. People are
don't dump the waste in my backyard. Listen to how he's talking.
They're looking at the Sierra Club or NRDC. They're looking at Japan, where they just had a massive failure. Part of the problem,
bring in the Fukushima
here, is that nuclear power is incredibly expensive, especially when you have to deal with all the safety issues. You could make it less expensive. There's only one way to do that. You'd have to have a carbon tax or cap and trade to get it cost competitive.
You know?
What?
I know. Can you believe what he's saying?
How do you slip that into the argument?
Amazing what he just did there. So, this is the same kind of guy who will say the earth is going to burn up, we're all going to die. Oh, but it's too expensive to do it with nuclear. We can't do that. Really? I mean, if it's really that important and you think it's right, but it's too expensive. Bull crap.
If we're going to do it in a market-based way, which I think that's what people want.
Oh, market-based, like the subsidies we have for solar and wind, like that market-based, Van?
Then you've got to have a carbon tax. Environmentalists have been fighting for carbon tax or cap and trade, getting no help from anybody else. So if you're going to attack somebody, don't attack the environmentalists who are trying to get the cost right to make clean energy go forward. That's to me, that's the weird thing about the film. It seems to make
Robert,
us
go ahead and respond.
the guilty party.
I'm not attacking environmentalists. I am an environmentalist, and everybody in my film is an environmentalist. I think if there's some people to be held account, it's the leadership of the environmental movement. I mean, just a couple of days ago, 4 of the world's leading climate scientists, including Dr. James Hansen, wrote a letter to the leadership of the environmental movement, pleading with them to support the development and deployment of advanced nuclear technology to combat climate change. And that letter has been met with dismissal and derision from the leadership, and I think it's.
By the way, I thought that was a pretty good move. Those 4, because that was a coordinated move with this showing of this film, and it did make some headlines. It got to NPR, got to PBS. I was impressed.
I think the most interesting thing said there was that Hansen, who is, as far as I'm concerned, solely responsible for the panic over CO2, solely responsible, and still the leading voice, took the side of the nukes.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because steps right in the way of the cap and trade carbon tax scam.
Well, wait until you hear how Van Johnson decides to treat this once he's kind of on the losing end. It gets funny.
And they've doubled down on this epic failure for 25 years. I think it shows that the leadership of the environmental movement has passed its expiration date, and young people need to take control of this movement and assert themselves so that it operates in the interests of their interests and not the interests of the Cold War generation.
Well, hey, listen, I'm all for new thinking. I think young people are all for new thinking. But here's the thing. The letter, nobody can argue with that letter. The letter says we should look into whether or not there can be this cleaner, more advanced thing. Listen, I'll tell you right now.
He's swallowing.
Go on record. If this magical solution that's being described now, where there's no risk to anybody, where it's cheap, where it's clean, where there's no problem with waste, there's no problem with nuclear proliferation for weapons, can happen, I'm for it. And when Puff the Magic Dragon shows up with that solution, great. But we have to deal right now.
What an a-hole. So this is completely...
Hey, Adam. When Puff the Magic Dragon shows up, then I'll listen to your crappy argument.
I'm like, wow.
Says beginning of the show clip. That's a good one.
Yeah. With the opposition that's coming to the nuclear power that we've got right now. And that's really what people are concerned about. If you've got something besides a PowerPoint presentation that would work in the real world, I think people would love to hear about it. The problem is that right now, the nuclear power we've got right now is very scary for people, and I don't think you should be mad at people who are afraid of the downsides.
You're afraid?
I'm not mad at anyone. I have nobody in my film is advocating building more nuclear power plants like we had in the 1970s, and I urge people to watch the film because you'll see that we actually have developed these advanced reactors that consume their own waste, where the very physics of them prevent them from suffering a kind of a meltdown like we had at Fukushima and Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island. So that would be impossible. There's all kinds of exciting things that are happening in reactor technology that people just don't know about.
Exactly. Well, that was refreshing. That was really refreshing.
There's a lot of things. This is true. JC Buzzkill Jr. has a friend who's in the industry, and he's always talking about this bull crap that comes out in the media. He tells me about it over dinner. And
see, that is very heartwarming to me that the young kids are onto this. They're onto the scam.
A lot of them.
Yeah, well, thank you, John. You've made me a very happy man.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
We have very few people to thank for today's show. I would hope this doesn't continue.
No one even made it rain. I'm kind of disappointed. I don't get to do because we really worked hard on that.
Yeah, I see that. Nobody made it rain.
Because we had like extra names and we're going to do stuff live and stuff. So, well, all right. Well, there you go.
So we have a few people. We have Bradley Selsource, 7777 from LaGrange, Kentucky. Sorry, been a part-time donor, part-time boner. By the way, one of the women sent us a note. It was a short segment.
One of the women?
One of the women are supporters. Mm-hmm. It's actually two women, but one of them.
Oh, yeah. Hey.
They went on as, can a woman be a boner?
They sent us a selfie.
Yeah, a selfie. And it was
hot.
like, the term boner is not originally, it means what it means. You're a kind of a kind of dickish or dick or a lot of different things. It's or a screw up even, but it doesn't have anything to do with your personal sexual orientation or ownership of sexual organs.
In fact, we welcome gays, lesbians, transgenders, queer, and questioning.
Well, besides that, but I'm just saying the boner is not necessarily a sexual reference. No. It's a reference to being not helping.
That's why I'm saying it.
Yeah, okay,
you can be a boner regardless of who you love.
Anyway, so Bradley says he's sending us a sack of sevens,
nice,
which we'll put on the list for all the sack of six. If you click on that, you'll go to sack of sevens, which will keep throughout the year until we get to our 8th year.
Nice.
Anthony Colangelo in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, 7676. He says, I had to donate again because every time someone says thank you for your anything, I hear thank you for your courage in my head.
Good.
That's a funny meme that we triggered.
It's crazy. It's actually
like it.
It's a hashtag now.
Thank you for your courage. Yeah. Trevor Chapman, 7513 from Brampton, Ontario. It's from the John's Theremin Fund.
Oh, from Scandinavia.
Yeah, he's from Scandinavia.
Sir.
And we'll give you some karma at the end.
Yeah.
Chris Abraham or Jarris Corporation, Arlington, Virginia, 7388. Best regards. Kelly Sandlin in Birmingham, Alabama, which is a really Interesting southern little town there. Sasha Landis in Port Townsend, Washington, $70. I've been thinking about donating since I was hit in the mouth by Dame Elise Garling. Be it laziness or broke, I haven't managed until now, so I'm now donating $70, not $69.69. I keep business and pleasure separate.
$69, dudes!
We have two lone 69.69ers.
We should get them together.
It's coming to an end, folks. Sir Richard Garrett. And
wait a minute, did I do something wrong here?
Yeah, you didn't.
Really?
You blew over his birthday last
Not only did
Sunday.
Skype let out a hiccup when John read my donation, but Adam totally blew over my birthday on Sunday. We could blame the shill, but instead I decided to throw you guys another Swazelnuff, 69.69, and a second chance to get it right. Sir Richard Garrett, Thunder Bay, Ontario, Scandinavia. Let me just make sure it's on the list here, because I feel bad. I didn't.
David Sharton in Sydney, Nebraska. 69.69. 4 cops stormed my bedroom, guns drawn, while I was sleeping because they found my front door unlocked. They drugged me out of bed and made me show ID and gave me a warning for not keeping my door locked.
What?
They probably found out I listened to No Agenda.
Wow.
So this guy in Sydney, Nebraska, had his house busted into by cops?
Really? Now, you got to send us some more info on this, David. That's interesting.
What are they going door to door checking to see if your door's locked in a small town of Sydney, Nebraska?
I guess this is disturbing.
See, the government has been giving these little police departments money to create SWAT teams, and they're creating a bunch of thugs for police departments.
Wow.
69, dudes!
The jingle may be retired.
Stop a second playing of that jingle. TinyEmpire.com, 6666 in Phoenix, Arizona. Producer Miles in Phoenix, Arizona says TechPHX.com is November 16th and 17th in the morning. Nicole Arnold in Oceanside, California, 6666. These are all 66ers. Oscar Sakasixes. Oscar Schenk in Castricum.
Schenk in Castricum.
Castricum. In Holland. Yeah. Thank you for your courage. Vicky Kostecki in Maple, Ontario. Scandinavia. Figured I'd better pony up, so I start so many of my remarks now with, well, maybe someone is listening to too much No Agenda, but this is apparently where she's been listening to too much or she's not to the point where she has relaxed into the knowledge.
Yeah, but you'll get there. It does happen.
Eventually, you stop doing that.
Relax into the knowledge.
Disappear.
Yeah.
There's no reason to say that.
Yeah, I like that, John. This is when you relax into the knowledge. That's very nice. Nice way of putting it.
You relax to the knowledge.
Yeah.
John Evdeman in Sammamish, Washington. Joshua Eng in Alexandria, Virginia. I have note. Yes, he sent a check, and with it, a note. And that note says, enclosed is a make good check for one that got lost. So you don't have to something I can't read or acknowledge it if you don't want to.
Yeah,
okay?
Of course we'll acknowledge that. You sent a note, handwritten.
Yeah, just go through the trouble of sending a note. We look at it. Brett Barney, 5533 in Chanute, Kansas. Mark Magpeo, 50 double nickels on the dime in Cerritos, California. Sir Jeffrey Gerlach in Lincoln, California, 5150.
Hey, did he send us a note that he's running for Congress?
Oh, yeah. Do you have that? Why don't you read that?
I have it here. Yes, I'm exploring the reality of running for California 4th District. After all, I am the Baron of Placer County. It's only fair that I feel responsible for my protectorate. And Placer. And surely something has to be done. Then he has something about his motivation to defend the Constitution, of course, especially spying. Can't compete with the party's moneyed interest. I have to do it with volunteered efforts and little money. If it can be done without spending or intending to spend $5,000, that's a threshold that triggers fiduciary responsibility. Well, keep us, this is Baron von Gerlach, actually. Keep us updated, Baron. I think it's great. It would be nice to have someone in Congress that's that we have access to.
Yeah, and who knows what he's doing.
just, and so we can come and visit, too. It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, you can take us a tour.
Get us on the tour.
So
good
we
on
got
you, man. That's beautiful. I love that. I love
Susan Galbraith in Michigan. Greetings, John and Adam. I was driving home listening to episode 559, and I laughed so hard listening to Adam try to say France 24, France Van Cat, that I thought that I would have to pull over. But my amusement would be short-lived. Several minutes later, Adam said something that put me into a sheer panic. He told you, John, to sell your home because you would be turning 80 in 5 years.
I did not say that. I did not say that. Did I? I don't think I did.
You said I was
maybe as a joke.
Could this be true? How long could John continue the show in his advanced years? I sped home, flew to the computer, and Googled John's age as I heaved, I say, a sigh of relief. It dawned on me how bad I would Jones if No Agenda went off the air. So with great humility, I offer my first donation and officially shed my boner status. I wish it could be more because I truly appreciate your efforts to drudge through the swill of mainstream media so that I don't have to.
Oh, that's very kind. Have you noticed, John, how many women are on the list today?
We're getting a few more women, luckily. But as a single mom of 2 college students, every expenditure has to be weighed and prioritized. You're worth every penny, and I could not bear the guilt if the show went under because I didn't rearrange my budget.
Oh,
By the way,
so sweet.
Not all women need a man to be a conduit to the NA show. I hit myself in the mouth.
You can be on a Nightline special doing that.
Love you guys. Susan, with a P.S. My daughter told me that if I ever want to be in a happy relationship, I need to find a guy who listens to No Agenda.
Well, there's a very good point there. Absolutely.
Why
don't you send me a picture, and I'll see if I can connect you with someone who I think is appropriate.
She's in Lincoln Park, Michigan.
So?
I don't think there's any men in the area.
Okay. They have men there.
Elise Garling Jewelry's $50 from Sunnyside, New York. And we have a happy birthday brother thing coming up, a master of hitting people in the mouth. And the reason I listen is because of the brother. Oh, no, the reason I listen, my sister listens. My cousin, Night Bourbon and Bonuts.
Bong hits.
Bong hits. Night Bourbon and Bong hits. And many others listen. Also, sorry, guys, for being so lazy at sending our Lemoncello.
Yes.
Source. I get there eventually, rock on, blah, blah, blah. Christopher Walker, 50, parts unknown. And Matthew Januszewski in Chicago, Illinois. And finally, last but not least, Sir Patrick Mackham in Mount Vernon, New York. And that's it. That's all we got. We had to stretch the segment.
You did. Well, it was nice we read some of those.
We only
notes.
had 21, I believe. 21 or 24.
Not good. Not good.
Total, which is actually about half of what we got last year.
This time last year?
The fact, yeah.
Oh, jeez. Really?
Yeah, why is that?
Well, I don't know, but we won't have to wait until one of us is dead if we go on like that.
Yeah, really. All right. Anyway, I want to tell people, please go to noagendashow.com, noagendanation.com, noagenda, or channeldvorak.com/NA and dvorak.org/NA. And we have a song. What's the song? We haven't heard that for a while.
Oh, you want that? We haven't heard that in a while. Yeah, sure.
Dvorak.org/NA. Donate enough to be a knight someday.
All right, with sincere apologies, Sir Richard Garrett turned 31 last Sunday. So sorry if I burped my Skype way through it or just overlooked it. That was incredibly rude of me. And Dame Elise Garling says happy birthday to her brother Ian Garling. He turns 30 today. Happy birthday from your buddies here, the best podcast in the universe. It's your birthday, yeah. No nightings, no changes.
No nights.
And by the way, someone mentioned this to me. The voting is going on for the podcast awards. And so we're nominated in, I don't know. Not
2 categories.
Really? I thought only 1.
No, 2.
Really?
We're in 2 categories. We're in the People's Choice, which we're never going to win against some celebrity.
Yeah.
So that's out.
Yeah.
And news. We got in this time as news.
News or politics
news
or
podcasts against a bunch of really crummy news podcasts. I don't understand why we just don't walk away with that award.
Well, first of all, we don't do what every podcast is doing. And like, go vote for us, go vote for us, go vote for us. Because, it will really make no difference to our life. The only difference it'll make is for you, the producer. And by the way, you're all producers. So if you want to win the award, which we'll share with you, we'll send it on a little rotation trip, right? Every single producer will get to have it for a day.
Yeah.
And then you send it on. That's a great idea, by the way.
I like it.
And everyone takes a picture with it. Then you know what to do.
Is there actually a trophy?
I think they didn't have one last year. I think last year that there was not enough money for a trophy. Yeah. It doesn't matter because, as you know, we are
the best podcast in the universe.
We did get a plastic plaque from somebody.
Yes, I got not a plastic plaque. I got a Adam Curry Best Podcaster in the Known Universe. I have you got a
plastic,
trophy.
though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Plastic.
Well, yeah, of course it is. It's expensive. You can't be like doing like, hey, wow. The Reverend Manning had an interesting show.
We're gone to the well.
Well, the well came to us. Here's the intro, and then you tell me if you want to hear a little bit of this interview.
Are you kidding me?
What?
Are you kidding me? I love this guy. If the guy was this guy, of course I want to hear it. But play the
a special guest now with an exclusive, Mia Maria Pope, who lived in Honolulu, who is a contemporary of the Mac Daddy Obama. She knew him as Barry Soetoro in the early years there when he was a high school student. And Barry always, according to what Mia is going to say to us in a few moments, identified himself as pretty much as a foreigner and also as a cocaine-smoking homosexual on the order of Richard Pryor type. And so she knew him, conversated with him, and is ready now to talk to the Manning Report about her relationship with the Mac Daddy. She calls him Barry Soetoro back in the 70s.
All right. Would you like to hear some of this interview?
This is interesting. They dug somebody up, but yeah, I'd love to hear it, of course. Let's see what she has to say.
So this is Mia Marie Pope. She seems pretty together, actually. And she doesn't go... What she said here sounds totally believable. And she doesn't sound like a kook. The whole thing is like 35 minutes or something, which is it's worth watching it. The Manning is he's just a funny guy, just a very, very funny guy, and he's been around, and he's not a big fan of President Obama.
He wasn't really close within my particular circle of friends. He was a little bit older than me, and he
isn't it older than I.
No, you can say that. I think it's fine.
All right. But it would be John and I, right? Because people don't do that anymore.
There's a lot of controversy over the me and I thing nowadays.
Yeah. What is that? All right. Who cares? I'm sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
He very much was within sort of the gay community, which there is a thriving, even back then, gay community in that area, particularly the Diamond Head area. And we knew Barry as just common knowledge that, girls were never anything that he was ever interested in. And, as a young teenager, as a young girl, I mean, it was clear to me that Barry was strictly into men. And, not that I had any designs on him or anything. I mean, he and I really didn't even get along because one of his attributes that's still evident today is that he was even a pathological liar back then. And it was...
I like that.
And I'm not kidding. I mean, every time this guy would open his mouth, the most outlandish stories would come out of his mouth, and so pretty soon we would just... I actually, I'm going back over 30 years here, but I remember us saying, like, Barry, don't you ever get tired of lying? He was a pathological liar even then. He'd make you tired.
What were some of the kinds of lies he would tell? Mia, what some of the lies, just for an example of was he just egotistical? Was he lying about?
Yeah, it was always... Yeah, exactly, Dr. Manning. It was always some self-aggrandizing thing. And I'm doing my best, because I'm going back so far, it's hard for me to remember a verbatim conversation. I have very clear image memories. But it was always something to egotistically boost himself, that it was always something how...
What do you think? Does she sound for real?
Well, she's the most reasonable sounding person we've heard complain about Obama. That's for sure. I like it. I think you're right. It makes sense as possible. It's not outside of any of the
realm of
developing information that we've got about the guy over the years. It's not like off the wall.
Another minute.
He was, he had this weird air where, like, he used to go around bumming cigarettes from people.
I believe that, by the way. He seems like a total cigarette bummer. You know what I mean? You know these people? No, you don't.
Because I never smoked.
Yeah, you've never been a smoker. But as a smoker, he totally looks like, hey, man, can I bum a smoke off you? I can see him do it.
Which, I think we all did. But the thing was with him is he would turn it on, try to, like, see if he could get something off of you type thing, and then as soon as you'd be stupid enough to hand him a cigarette, he'd snap in an instant and walk away as if it's like insult to injury, you know what I mean? So he didn't actually have a lot of friends or anything, really. He was just in the periphery, and I had some gay acquaintances. And remember, this is the late 70s. I mean, drugs were around, and
it's my favorite bit.
That lifestyle was just starting to really come to the forefront, and as far as people were very out front with their personal behavior. And so, it was just always one thing or another with Barry. He just seemed to be incapable of being genuine or telling the truth about anything. So that kind of turned us off. But, we were young teenagers, we're naive. It's kind of like, all right, yeah, Barry the liar, whatever. And then, but one thing that he did brag about, now remember, this is the late 70s, this is before crack was invented, or if it was invented, we never saw it around. I never heard of it until the 80s. So this was, if you were going to do cocaine, it was like in the powder form, and it was very expensive. Well, here we are, a bunch of broke teenagers, and in other words, for somebody to brag that they have this cocaine was, somewhat newsworthy within our little clique. And he probably was telling the truth. He would get with these older white gay men, and this is how we just pretty much had the impression that that's how he was procuring his cocaine. In other words, he was having sex with these older white guys, and that's how he was getting his cocaine to be able to freebase.
This Manning is unbelievable.
Well, the term freebase is improperly used there, which kind of is bothersome. But yeah, this is the kind of thing that this is taking it to the max with Manning, I have to say.
Yeah.
It's useless. The guy's in office until he's done. So what? So what?
Well, Manning has a show to do. I mean, he's got a ministry to run. He needs donations and money. I get that.
Yeah.
But she's pretty good.
Yeah, no, I'm going to listen to the whole thing. If it could, much longer is it?
Oh, no, that's all I have. That's all that I felt was necessary. The whole thing is
but I'm saying, how long is the
30 minutes, 30 minutes, 35 minutes.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's in the show notes, 563.nashownotes.com. I have just a couple things. Euroland, it looks like there's a poll out, or the poll will be released in Greece. Golden Dawn Party looks like it's first place. Of course, whenever something's popular, then it's always deemed far-right Nazi. I don't live there. I don't know anybody there. But I have a feeling that this may not be as Nazi as it's being portrayed. Neo-Nazis? Well, why is the whole country behind him then? And there's this an EU... We're talking about the tolerance stuff. An EU member of parliament has sent a letter out that says he's so concerned about what's happening in all these countries with the far-right neo-Nazis rising to power, hating people with no intolerance, that they may want to, and this is, I don't know if it's even possible, they are talking about possibly postponing the 2014 European Union elections. Now, Nigel Farage, I don't have any clips from him, but he's standing up in front of everybody and saying, hey, there's a big force coming and you're all going to get voted out. And it just may be true. Now, that is the one thing that the Europeans can actually do. If they really en masse all go and vote out all these douchebags, so that they can then not elect these other douchebags who are not elected, they're just appointed, a change could take place. And it seems like there is, the media, of course, is fighting it very, very hard, calling everyone a neo-Nazi, racist, haters.
All the regular cards, yeah.
Yeah. So that's how it's done. That's how we stop people. But it looks like Greece is just, they're in such, they have no prospect. They have another strike, just ongoing. The public broadcasters, they stayed in the studio and continued to broadcast for months, and now they were thrown out this morning with tear gas. So they set up a new public broadcasting system, which of course is friendly to the Troika, who have taken over. But the old guys, they just said, screw it, we're staying in here. We're just going to be on the internet doing podcasts from their studios. And they locked the doors and barricaded. They've been there for months broadcasting, quote unquote, the truth. And today the military police went in and threw them all out. And that's your EU freedom of speech, people. Wow. So I'm kind of excited about the idea that there may be finally this groundswell that people are just in Europe, it's like they've had enough. You can only push them so far.
You've had enough when your government, when this so-called superstate, this EU, isn't performing.
Yeah,
they're failing. I mean, the Greece situation is the best example. Greece was fine. It was up and down. It had its normal, foibles. It was normal. Greece has always been somewhat weird. But since the EU came along, and especially the Eurozone, Greece has been in terrible shape. And the same can be said for Spain and Portugal and Italy to some extent. And now, Moldavia wants to get in on it. They want to become part of the EU. And so they, it's shifted the way the finances are. They got to give money to these little operations that are just trying to get some free money. And then it's taken it away from some of the old established countries. And this is idiotic. It's just the craziest thing I've ever seen. I'm stunned it's gotten this far. Stunned.
Yeah. Well, Greece also, they got this rap that they were lazy a-holes, which was totally untrue.
No, they are the most productive.
They work the hardest, the most hours ever.
They work the hardest. They're the most productive individuals within the EU.
Yeah.
And they're more productive I think they're more productive than we are. We're really high up on, because we've been whipped into shape.
Yeah.
And we're very productive. Americans are. And I think the Greeks are at least as productive, maybe more. I'm not sure where we sit and compare it, but they're the tops in Europe. So there's a productive group of people. They're working, hard and long.
If they have work. They have work. Which they don't.
Yeah, if they have work. Of course, they have all the jobs taken away from them, which makes them even more frustrated.
No.
But then you portray them as a bunch of lazy jerk-offs.
Yeah, that was the worst, I think, because people in the northern parts of Europe started to buy into it. Like, yeah, it's lazy a-holes taking our money.
Now, the northern part of Europe, especially Germany, they're very susceptible to brainwashing. And
they have a history. They have a history of doing that very well.
Yeah.
Oh, this just in. U.S. Senate approves ENDA. 64-32. So I guess the Senate voted on their version of the bill. This is my God, this is going to happen.
No, the House will vote it down.
It'll vote it down. No. Of course the House will vote it down, but I'm just saying the propaganda will be Republicans hate gays. This is going to happen. It's totally going to happen. No, I just didn't know it was happening this fast.
That's why the Senate voted for it. They voted, you can bet, lockstep Democrat, because they know it's a scam, and they know the House isn't going to vote for it, so there's no fear from their constituents that don't like some of it, like you explained perfectly. Mm-hmm. And then the House will vote it down, and all the Republicans refused. Those Republicans.
They hate gays.
I think the Republicans should vote it in and let everybody swing in the wind. That would be great.
Okay, from inside sources, I can tell you that the TED Talks will be Drone Week on November 18th. And it is now more or less official that the CIA is going to keep running the drone program. It will not be handed over to the Pentagon and Department of Defense as previously promised.
There must have been some legal decision.
Well, yeah, the Department of Defense can't drone people without certain congressional approval and declaration of war. The CIA can just do whatever they want.
Right.
So that's your buddy John O'Brien there. Not your buddy, but
I don't have a clip
no cliplets. No cliplets. I just had one little thing that I thought was kind of interesting. It came up the other evening at dinner, actually. There's this study out about obesity, and it's from the University of Seattle. And the study is from a guy named Michael Skinner, who's up there, and it's about DDT. And the study, which they did with rats, said it looks like it's possible, according to the new study, exposure to the synthetic insecticide DDT might have set off a genetic chain reaction causing one's grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and generations beyond to become obese. And I'm like, why is this happening, this study? Now, we've talked about DDT. DDT was a lifesaver. It saved, after the Second World War, I think it saved Italy, literally, from people being eaten alive by all kinds of critters. And, of course, in Africa is where it really helped. It saved millions of people's lives from malaria. But then all of a sudden, because I think, and we've talked about this many years ago on the show, John, because it probably was so cheap to make and so effective, and the inventor of it, he would eat it on television. Wasn't that what the guy was doing?
Yeah, there was a guy that was constantly eating it on television, but it was supposedly banned because it created a
cancerous, is what I always learned.
No. It was birds.
Right.
There was all the there's always the cancer, but
right.
It was birds. It was killing eagles and pelicans.
Oh, right, the pelicans. You're right.
Because it would screw up their eggshell.
But if you ask anyone today, and educated people, DDT, they go, "Oh no, that's cancerous."
No, it's never been cancerous.
No, but that will be your answer. I guarantee you, that's the answer. And so I'm looking at this. I'm like, why is this DDT study? Who gives a crap? We don't use it anymore. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Who is against DDT? The Gates Foundation. The Gates Foundation. Their big thing is malaria, and they'll do everything for the malaria vaccines and all this stuff they're working on in Africa. And so, and it took me like 2 minutes to make the connection. This Skinner has been funded to the gills by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I'm like, oh, this makes nothing but sense. There's probably someone is going to start talking about DDT. It may be preempted at this point. Because as far as I know, it was really, it worked, but it killed pelicans, and so we had to get rid of it. And now we have this study which someone...
Well, it didn't kill pelicans. It made it so their eggs were so fragile they couldn't reproduce.
Oh, that's right. The eggs. Oh, my God. Now it's coming back to me. God, you know that well. So I have a feeling that there may be some other study or something was coming out, and we'll have to be on the lookout for it. Again, it may have been preempted at this point. that made this necessary. Because why else do we need to have a study about DDT and rats and how it makes people obese, which of course is the problem of our generation?
I don't know.
Well,
we'll have to follow this.
Yeah,
We'll follow it.
I'm throwing it out there because I know that our producers are all over this kind of stuff, and they find things and they dig stuff up, which is what you guys do best, quite honestly.
So I do have a clip I thought was interesting. I don't know if this got much play in the United States, that apparently the Australians are spying for the U.S., which I think is peculiar, but we've kind of taken over that place and they're using it as a test bed for cap and trade, carbon taxes, putting our military up there, and I guess now using their embassies to store our gear, spying gear.
For Edward Snowden in Russia, and says Snowden could travel to Germany to testify about NSA spying if legal obstacles can be cleared. Germany has demanded answers after reports the U.S. tapped the phone of German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Anger over U.S. spying has spread to Asia after documents from Snowden revealed U.S. and foreign embassies across East and Southeast Asia are housing equipment for U.S. surveillance. Indonesia summoned its Australian ambassador today after it was revealed the Australian embassy in Jakarta is a hub for the U.S. spy efforts.
Yeah. All right, I got a couple on those. I got a little mini cliplets for you. There was a 3 sessions of the Privacy and Civil Liberties Board. These are the guys who are going to decide, what is guys and women. I think there's 1 or 2 women on the board. Who've been appointed by the president to decide, what is enough spying? What is prudent? What is good? Screw the Constitution. Who cares about the Fourth Amendment? We here on the board will tell you all about it. And one of the people on the board is James Baker. And here's what he thinks about our FISA court.
In many ways, I would say, notwithstanding much of what has been written in the press, the FISA court is a national treasure. It has done its job in exemplary fashion during wartime.
Nice. National treasure, John.
During wartime?
That's what he said.
What wartime? Is there a declared war we are unaware of? Are we having to do rations? Do we have to ration our gasoline? Do we have to turn in our aluminum pots?
No pantyhose
for the war
you.
effort?
Yep, no pantyhose for you.
And for yourself.
And then I was Leahy. So there's we have Feinstein has entered her bill, which will solidify the spying efforts. And Leahy has entered his USA Freedom Acts, and a very interesting fellow, this Leahy. Of course, we know that he is the one that busted Kaiser Alexander on the 54 number. But he kind of led me down to 2 interesting paths, one that I had not expected. First, here he is in this interview, literally debunking. We thought it was 13 legitimate attacks that had taken place that were thwarted by the fantastic efforts of the NSA. Turns out it was a little bit less than that. He's very happy to comply and tell us about it, though.
The head of the national security goes around saying, well, we thwarted 54. Well, nobody ever called him on it. When I held hearings, we started calling on it. Now, at this point, he's in a hearing. He has to tell the truth. It went from 54 to maybe a dozen to finally ended up by saying, well, it was instrumental in helping the FBI thwart 1 case. Now let's stop the polemics. Could we make us safer if we have a person follow every single American, every single minute of the day? Possibly. But do we want that? No. I mean, we will always face threats in this country. But the greatest threat should not be from our own government prying into every single one of our secrets with no accountability whatsoever. And we saw that. They give the secrets away to a 29-year-old subcontractor. It's just like another branch of government which gave away some of our most important secrets when a private first class loaded them on his Lady Gaga CD and walked off with them. No, these are not... they shouldn't have every single one of our secrets. It's not making us safer. They may want to twist these statistics to make it safer. Nobody who really has studied this can say this has made us safer.
again, I'm just delighted with the honesty that is coming out here. That's really nice. This is something you don't hear very often.
No, you don't hear it very often at all. In fact, you don't hear it at all because nobody plays these sorts of things. And it's all marginalized. Yeah, you know it. I know it. The No Agenda listeners know it. And the public doesn't know. If you go into any casual conversation, you'll run into this kind of naivete. Oh, yeah, 54, 54, 54. And there's no second thoughts about it. No, this is
nice to hear.
No surprise.
Now, then he said something which...
It's not refreshing at all to me. It's depressing.
Well, buzzkill. Then he said something which it kind of caught me off guard. I didn't quite understand, and I looked into it, and I learned something which I think we were unaware of.
Can you pinpoint the very moment that you changed your mind about this government surveillance programs and you decided that these programs needed to be curbed?
I've never really changed my mind. I thought in the Patriot Act, I pushed to make it a lot tighter than it was, and I joined with the conservative Republican leader of the House, Dick Armey, to put sunset provisions in. That's one of the reasons we now have this debate, because it forced the Congress to review it periodically.
Okay, so what he said there is we put sunset measures in there, which is forcing us to have this debate.
Yeah, and the problem is every time they have the debate, because it expires every couple of years, they add more stuff to it.
But wait. This thing was just renewed. He wasn't. This is what I figured out. He wasn't talking about the Patriot Act. He was talking about the amendments. Actually, in this case, the FISA amendments in 2004. I didn't know this, and this is what I got. And I have the documents, of course, in the show notes. In 2004, they added 3 amendments to the FISA Act, which of course all falls into the Patriot Act, and this kind of blew me away. One of them is the Lone Wolf Amendment. Did you know about this?
I don't know that I knew about it being called the Lone Wolf Amendment, so probably not.
Yeah, and this is 2004, and I thought this was just something the media had made up, but now I'm starting to understand. This is Provision 6001A, simplifies the evidentiary standard used to determine whether an individual who engages in international terrorism may be the target of a FISA court order, does not modify other standards used to determine the secondary question, or whether that's surveillance. Historical context. The impetus for the Lone Wolf provision involved Zacarias Moussaoui, one of the individuals believed to be responsible for the 9/11 terrorist attacks. During the examination of the events leading up to the attack, it was reported that investigations regarding Moussaoui's involvement were hampered by limitations. Specifically, FBI agents suspected he had planned a terrorist attack involving piloting commercial airliners, but he had no connection to a terrorist group. So all this propagation of the lone wolf is something more, John, than just a media term. It is really how we can use the FISA amendment to spy on people who have no relation to terrorism and possibly, ultimately, no foreign status, but could be citizens of the United States. And this is up for renewal in about a year.
Yeah, this is typical. This is the stuff the FBI is good at. Trying to make their job so easy by putting in all these provisos where you can essentially violate the normal police protocols and just grab stuff and find someone
do whatever
guilty.
You want to do. Yeah,
do whatever you want to do without having to do any real work.
I just thought
this has been a problem.
All right, and then finally he says something that I'll just respond to, and that'll be my final thought for the show.
But we've reached a point where there seems to be this attitude, if we can do it, we should do it. No matter what it does to your privacy, no matter what it does to your sense as an American, that you're left alone. The NSA says because we can collect every one of your phone calls and virtually everything else, we got to be able to do it in case someday we need it. Well, you can imagine what it would be like if the local police department said, we're just going to break into your house, steal everything out of your files and out of your records, because someday we may need it. everybody's been uproar. But they can do the same thing electronically. We ought to say, wait a minute.
And what I want to say there is build your own data house. Build your own electronic house. Get off of these systems. Get off of Google if you can. Get off of Gmail. Get off of Yahoo Mail. Get off of it. You don't need it. Just get off of it. And then you have the equivalent of someone breaking into your own home. Now, these guys are handing it over and getting paid for it. Learn how to do that. And that's all I have to say.
Well, that's fine.
I'm really upbeat today. I'm feeling like we've got the Europeans are getting in and starting to make some noise. I'm hearing some truth here and there. I'm liking it. I'm feeling pretty good about everything.
It's all obscure.
You're not feeling so good.
No, everything you've pointed out in this regard that you just described is all obscure. It's like nobody else. We get 10 people that know about the Leahy commentary, plus our audience.
Plus our audience, yes, exactly.
But they know most of this already. So it's just still fixed. And I think and the way the donations are going, apparently our audience is shrinking. So there's less people know. So I don't know. I'm not happy.
All right. Well, hopefully we can make it rain on. What?
I just can't manage it. Trying to put you down on the bummer like I did last show.
Hey, thanks, dude.
But I can't manage it today. Sunday, I'll have a clip blitz that will make everyone think twice about everything.
All right. Syncing up my Bitcoin to the blockchain here in Austin, Texas. FEMA Region 6 in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
This Bitcoin thing gets me down. From Northern Silicon Valley, I'm John C. Dvorak.
We'll be back on Sunday right here on No Agenda.
Oreos are just as addictive as cocaine.
The best podcast in the universe.
Adios, mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA